Hello and welcome everybody back once again to the TRACKILICIOUS GT3 Sunday night main event. Hope everyone's having a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. I am so excited for tonight. Once again, back first off, welcome everybody. It's been an absolute minute since I've been here. Wow, that's loud. Steven Tomazic with a raid already jumping in here. Welcome everybody. I'm joined here tonight. First off, I'm Mike Nause, and joined by somebody new. Now, I tell you what, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Carson Kass. I'm new to the sim racing broadcasting scene. I'm from different canals of broadcasting. I'm committed to Syracuse University for broadcasting, and this is my love. I love this so much. So we're gonna be going in here tonight. I'm so excited. Mike gave me this opportunity. I'm locked in. I'm ready to go, guys.
Absolutely locked in. You heard it here first. Let's do this, Carson. So excited to have you along here tonight for Bathurst. 90 minutes of action with one mandatory pit stop. It's going to be a 25-second fixed timer with 5 additional seconds if the drivers would like to take tires. Gonna have the qualifying ahead of us. Drivers are already currently setting some laps. Let's see, who do we have joining us? We got Karu joining us, Raleigh joining us, Wet Sox joining us, shouting the Provolone fan out already. It's Provolone fan base, of course, running strong. We have Jeff, Steven Tomazic with a raid. Thank you again. Was, Eric, Jake, Lizzie, everybody joining us. Reaper, as well as Dog is, but T-Dog, thank you. That's a tough one to pronounce. I don't think I hit the pit rules. What do you mean? Is it not 25-second fixed time here tonight, Eric? Welcome, Oh No Noodles as well. Who's in the booth? Once again, that's Carson joining us, a new... Lizzie just missed, Lizzie. But there we have it. As the song is over, we're going to head down into the qualifying session, take a look at some of the times on the board as we have it. Ali Raza starting off strong here on pole position as the black screen of anticipation sets in, and we can see the times just briefly. It was a bit of a wet free practice session that we had, but it seems the conditions have blown over here tonight in New South Wales. Track conditions, we're seeing 24 degrees on both ambient and track with a green track. A little slippery out there tonight. We'll see if they can even break the 2-minute mark, as that's a bit of a struggle here for Ali.
Yeah, Bathurst is obviously I think I said that right. It's obviously a very difficult course. I mean, it is known for how insane the turns are, the corners are, the depth, the going up and down. It's an elevation of 174 meters, which is about 2 football fields. It's just absolutely death row if you make a mistake, and you're going to see guys pushing, especially in qualifying, and it's going to cause mistakes, especially on a track that might be a little damp.
Absolutely. Mistakes are what's going to be making the difference here tonight. And it's going to be seeing a lot. Of course, the famous phrase, the mountain giveth and the mountain taketh away. Currently, it's giving quite a good margin of times, I will say, separating us 1 second off the holy smokes indeed. Flirty630 with a subscription. Thank you very much. Subscribe for 7 months, currently on a 2-month streak. That's almost a year. Thank you.
Obviously, yes, thank you very much. That support always helps out communities. I'm new to this community, obviously, but I can kind of tell you guys have such a very strong backers with how many people are already in here off the bat and how many people are just involved in these events. That's really impressive.
In fact, you know, that's a great mention, Carson. Speaking of, I haven't gone over it just yet, but why don't we head on over to our calendar real fast while we're underway in qualifying. The even numbers will be finishing up their qualifying, and the odds will be coming out soon enough. But as we have it, we have our calendar. This is going to be our GT4 rookies, of course, up tomorrow. We're going to be over there at Suzuka down in Japan for a 2020 doubleheader, as well as our GT4 Open. And I think, if I am not mistaken, Carson, you're going to be racing in the rookies there tomorrow.
Yeah, you can expect me in a black Porsche towards the back of the field. I'm not very good at it, but boy, do I love doing it.
And that's the enthusiasm we want in the Rookie League. Of course, if you're looking to dip that toe into the sim water, the shark-infested waters that are sim racing, do head on over to the TRACKILICIOUS SimGrid and sign up for that. We also have some other championships that we're offering. We have our GT Tuesdays. That's going to be up next at Red Bull, or excuse me, we just had Red Bull Ring. It's going to be up next at Imola, in the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari.
Oh my
so
goodness.
Do sign up for that. And yeah, you got to love that. You got to throw it in whenever you can. We, of course, have our GT3 West Coast Championship, our GT3 Reverse Grid, which has come to a close, as well as, I think, the Special events, those are down to a close. It's coming to an end for Q1 here at TRACKILICIOUS, but do not fret. Of course, we're going to have more championships underway, and the GT3 season that you're going to be watching here tonight is absolutely fierce in the competition. We can take a look at the standings in a little bit as we pop back, though. As we pop back there, because the whole reason that you had mentioned that, of course, is our server supporters, which we have on screen. All of our Patreon members and server donors, as well as our previous patrons. Thank you all so much, past, present, and future, for heading on to there. And Carson also joining the Patreon page.
I thought if I work for you guys, I thought I'd support myself a little bit. So I indulged in the Patreon. It is a lot of fun. You get a lot of benefits, such as supporting this community, which I think is the #1 benefit for me. I've come across a lot of different sim racing communities, and it just kind of, you get this vibe where it's either like you're in a community where it's just like people you don't know and people that aren't very welcoming, but this community has shown me nothing but open arms since the second I got here, and I'm kind of the reason why I'm up here. I got the confidence to ask you if I could, and we're here right now. So it's obviously a wonderful community, and if you haven't joined already and you're a random Twitch viewer, I would advise hop in there, get in some conversations with some great people, and just get involved. This is an absolutely wonderful place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I've been here, why I have the pleasure of being here for so long, and I just absolutely love it. So what a community that we have, and looks like Carson being welcomed on as well, of course, from not just me, but it looks like the chat enjoying it as well. You love to see it. Thank you for the hydrate from Zuka, and also Wet Socks and Flirty 630. We're going to caffeinate heavily, it seems, pretty early here.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good lineup so far. Got some backups in the fridge if needed. How does hydration work? Give me a quick recap on that. Am I just gonna drink water right now, or
it's up to, I mean, yeah, you gotta, I mean, well, you know, it's just the hydration. It's mainly a reminder for, you know, not just us, for as well as everybody in the chat to hydrate up. Water, of course, being the fluid of life, the most important thing out there. Thank you, Toot McNewts for the follow. Much appreciated. I saw we also had a follow earlier, Anton Wasslover. As well as, I think before the stream, we had Jan Flox, apologies on the mispronunciation, with the follow as well. Now, of course, don't forget we have the Facecam Fiesta. I know Flirty630 is one of your favorites, and it does, in fact, count for both streamers, so keep that in mind. Oh my goodness.
That is the 21
That's Jake
car,
Wells. Jake Wells in the number 69 with a not so nice maneuver there. Unfortunately getting caught out by, it looks like, a slower car, and just wasn't expecting that. It looks like Drew Burakovsky. And Jake Wells with some support in chat as well. Maybe a little bit of a jinx.
Wells is in the 69 car on my screen, but that's what's going to come down to it. Yeah, it looks, yeah. Going back and looking at it, it looks like Wells kind of just lost it in that corner. So kind of someone rejoined, they kind of just made collision. A bit more of a racing incident more than anything, but he's going to try and get a time in with that now.
Yeah, of course, you hate to see that sort of thing in quali, but it does happen to the best of us, and it is, you know. Moving on, of course, from that, we do see times from the odd numbers. They're going to be starting to pour in here at the end of this lap. I think the first... Let's see, who is the first odd driver on a lap? Is it Steven Tomazic? It might very well might be, or... no, it is not. Is it... It looks like it is, it's Eric, I think. Eric Akassian.
I believe it is.
Who, not to admit, we saw in the free practice session, he was doing quite well, so why don't we pop on board here with the number 5 Armenian here, heading up the hill, getting as close to the walls as he possibly can.
Yeah, he was very quick in free practice. Had that first position in the rain, no mind you, by 0.4 seconds, and has had a very quick car, and I would not be surprised to see him with that time he had earlier towards the top of the field tonight.
He's been practicing Bathurst, and it's shown. That was a little bit of a handful there, under braking, got a bit of a lockup before getting that car fully straightened under the, as he began down Skyline. Tilting it in there, getting nice and close to the wall. You have to take that line down through Forest Elbow. There's really only one way to get spit out onto the Conrad Straight. 1.1 miles of flat out here for this V10 Lamborghini. 5.2 liter Audi engine behind it. Gonna be approaching some pretty high speeds here. Looking at that speedo.
As he
286.
Right excuse me, I apologize. As he jumps to the chase right here, I'm gonna bring in that lockup earlier. Panorama has a lot of different setups in the sense of traction control and how safe you want your car to be, because obviously that middle section of the track right by the Dipper, Skyline, and S's is a real tough challenge, and getting through it can be a really difficult task, and it kind of depends on your setup, how comfortable you are on the track, how comfortable you are in other drivers not attempting to go too wide into place they haven't, things like that. Keeping yourself safe is the most important part about this track, and as you go on, you want to fight more and more. But towards the beginning, you're going to see a lot of drivers maybe take this a little bit slower and be comfortable with a little bit of space in front of the driver ahead of them, or you'll see other drivers trying to take advantage of that early.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric there, only P10 as he came to the line. P12 now dropping down, maybe not quite the best lap. I know we saw a couple mistakes there on that lap, so pretty easy to clean up from the future. Quinn Smith here jumping up ahead of CJ Engine, who set a very, very nice time in the Rut Row Racing, number 55 here. So quick, the cameraman can't even keep up with him.
The mute button was not working. On the other end, yeah, I mean, he's going to come through there. He's got a pretty good lap going for him in that Scooby-Doo McLaren. Also, those liveries that are being run around are absolutely glorious. I can't see them on my end 100%, but that Scooby-Doo McLaren, man, and the Black Rifle Coffee Company Aston Martin is just beautiful, and I love to see the creativity too.
We got some absolute stunners out there. We'll take a look later, and of course, if anyone does have a favored livery, we have some points redemption, some fuel redemption there to take a deep dive into that livery. Jake Wells would be a very good choice to use your points on. Plenty of points redemptions down there. Once again, some face cam Fiesta. Do take a look and indulge everybody. Renato Dornales, in the meantime, he has indulged a P3. Can he go any more, though? 1 second off the pace of Ali Raza. It seems that nobody can really match that. Wilson Fernandez getting close, but 4/10 off. It's still quite a gap.
And Wells just pulls himself about 0.5 above that Ferrari car right there in his 69 McLaren. Puts him on that podium to start off. Seeing a front row of McLaren so far, and that might be attributed to just kind of a lot of people's preference. And that McLaren is quick on those straights and in the turns, just in general.
Yeah, McLaren is an absolute powerhouse, even with the recent BOP changes. I'm not completely sure if I know LFM has released BOPs for some tracks, but I'm not sure Bathurst is one of them, so I think we're running the basic BOP here tonight, and we have plenty of Provolone support in chat. You love to see that, I gotta say. Let's see, where is Provolone?
It beats almost every car by the 710 brake horsepower, I believe it is, and that 4-liter twin-turbo V8. In just the sense of it's got, I think it's 100 more than any other engine. I believe the second one would be that Ferrari that's backed up by Dornales in the 5th slot as that 999's Audi from Smith hits the 4th spot, just a 0.012 ahead of Dornales.
And Jake Wells with a redemption, or with not rather, John Hawley with a redemption for Jake Wells. We'll get a full onboard lap of his next one. Hopefully he manages to he might actually get another lap, or he might get 2 more laps, but it's going to be close. I think he'll only get 1. And it looks like he might back off on this lap. Not quite improving at this stage. Get the balance on it. And we'll join him on his next lap. Next person to the line is going to be Renato Dornales, who's improving quite handedly. In fact, this may actually be a pole position attempt here. Renato Dornales approaching the line, 3 and a bit tenths off, but very close to his fellow countryman, Wilson Fernandez.
Yeah, obviously he is.
Oh my.
He has been rapid throughout that section, but you're kind of seeing some guys in that first few laps, even in the first, not out lap, but in the first actual quali lap, they're taking that section up on top of the mountain and down a bit easier as those second times come in, and as well as just getting comfortable in the seat. Sometimes that first lap isn't good. Walter Payton, Chicago Bears legend, completely unrelated, but I am from Chicago. Always talking about that first hit being the most important to get him in the right headspace. And
my goodness, official Karu, 5 gifted subs. They've gifted 15 in total. Karu, thank you so much for your continued support here. Absolute legend. Thank you so much. And we'll give it, since the soundbite for some reason doesn't work with gifted subs. Holy smokes! There you go.
Good thing. Thank you for supporting the community. That is really nice. Walter Payton mentioned. Wet Sox is very happy about that. Chicago mentioned. Yes, I am from Chicago.
Sorry to interrupt there, but Jake Walls, Jake Walls. Oh no!
Jake Walls.
I think I've accidentally, I've just created something brilliant there. This is Jake Wells with a very not ideal attempt here, 10th down. He's managing to keep the time up, to be honest, but definitely going to be morally wounded from that as Jake Wells begins his descent down the mountain. Oh, I like it.
Yeah, and that McLaren right in front of him actually did the exact same thing in a different corner, a turn ahead, and he did it in that same corner Wells did, or Walls in that case. Unfortunately for him, you just set him up for maybe the butt end of a joke. But with 30 seconds of qualifying, we'll see some guys get their last laps in, and we're seeing some cars probably get maybe an extra. That number 3 car of Felipe might get one here.
Gabriel Felipe might get a little bit more than an extra lap. He might be heading for that pole position here in that QRT Esports. Gabriel Felipe, of course, a ridiculously quick driver, along with, I think the top 4 are all esports drivers, if I'm not mistaken. So quite the level of competition here tonight. Gabriel Felipe, is it enough? Heads to the line, and it is going to be not enough. Where did he lose that, actually? He must have lost that into the chase.
Yeah, up in the chase, he unfortunately kind of slipped. That back end came out. Maybe had a lockup there, wasn't fully paying attention. I was more eyes on you, but kind of had a lockup, slid in the back, and I think he kind of may have gotten some damage because it was a hard hit against the wall for him.
Unfortunate. Anton Wass next to the line here. Going to be improving. Is it enough, though, to gain the likes over Wilson Fernandez, which would be quite the feat. Anton Wass to the line, gets a P3. Nicely done for the Rut Row Racing at his fellow teammate next to him.
Very, very good name. I'm going to give that name. I'm going to give that name a 9 out of 10, livery 10 out of 10. Love the mystery machine coming for that position there. And then still one more time for Nause, who's now sitting on pole.
Oh my goodness, you can see on his dash, TC map 0. Now, to be completely honest, he's carrying some extra ballast there for what's between his legs, but whoa, as he gets so close to the wall, but just a kiss on the wall is what you're looking for there. You just want to... This is... Watching Gabriel Felipe puts me on the edge of my seat here. Big moment, though. That was an absolutely abysmal line through Forest Elbow. He does lose what is probably a 10th, and that might make the difference. He needs to gain 3/10. Currently up half a second.
Sim racing is absolutely beautiful with how close the times are. If you even see Dornelles and Raza right now within 0.08 of each other.
88 thousandths of a second. Down into the braking here. Can Gabriel Felipe join them, split them, or maybe set the pace here himself? Gets a little bit squirrely there on exit. A bit of the milking the cow action. Now one more corner to go. Murray's corner, late braking at the 50. Tilts it in, gets on the throttle, nice and straight on the wheel to the line, and it is going to be pole position there.
Wow.
25 thousandths quicker than his fellow countryman there, Renato Dornelles.
It's going to just come down to those very, very, just marginal turns. The fact that he turned in maybe a millisecond earlier than Dornelles did could have been the difference there. And I believe those pairs sit 1-2 in the standings, no?
Great question. But one thing that I am noticing, it's wet, and it's very wet. This is interesting. Conditions are going to be improving, but not by much. So this is going to be a spicy, spicy session as we have it here. Starting off
30 minutes. Oof. And sorry, I apologize.
No worries.
30 minutes. And you mentioned earlier that water is, yes, the fruit and fuel of life, but it can also be the fuel of death on the track, and especially at a track like this. I have a feeling we will see some carnage on the front row in the front row in the entire pack involving everybody, but we'll see how careful they take it, because it is an hour and 30-minute race, and the last thing you want to do is completely ruin your race in the first few minutes. But with that hour and 30, can you get more aggressive is the question, because if you make a mistake, it's not going to be as costly with so much time to go.
You can win a race or you can't win a race in the first corner, but you most certainly can lose it, the famous saying. As we have it here, let's meet our drivers. Getting into it here, starting off in P1, it is going to be the Brazilian driver of Gabriel Felipe. Lining up in P2, it is going to be Renato Dornelles in the Vacuum Racing number 3 Ferrari, splitting the McLaren field here. Ali Raza in P3 with the number 30 TRACKILICIOUS, the Canadian behind the wheel, with Anton Wass Company in 4th. Wilson Fernandez in the 888, going to be in P5, the Brazilian driver with CJ Engine. Another Canadian up in the top here in the Rut Row Racing McLaren. Quinn Smith, the 999, going to be in P7 with Eric the Boss Kakassian, the Armenian Fuchsia driver, in P8. Jake Wells, 9th quickest in the Ripline Racing with Chris Moses rounding out our top 10. Casey Schutte, 11th quickest in the 444 with Christian Dubé in P12. Vadik Odstitsiev, 13th quickest in the number 63. JP Bellinger, 14th fastest in the 649. The AMG Scuderia Franco Sujo. Interesting title on that one. Drew Burakovsky going to be representing the Fuchsia team for the pink color there in the P15. Professor Kenotis, 16th quickest in the Trackalicious High Visibility Ferrari. Zane Blisket Company and the Mad Fox Sim Racing with a nice result in P17. Kyle Jr., 18th quickest in the BMW, the number 29, with Larry Lanham in P19. Will Hossman rounding out our top 20 with the Stinky Cheese Man himself, Jason Provolone, in P21. Jan Flox, the Czech driver, I think, or the apologies, I think that's Czech flag, in P22 with Matt Arteem Company in the United Racing, American United Racing, Audi in P23. Patrick Dubois, 24th quickest in the Rockefeller Racing Aston Martin with Jonathan Dubé in 25th. Stephen Tomazic, 26th in the Row Your Boat Racing 343 with Devin Anthony Company in P29. Of course, Devin Smallblock Anthony, famous for the Camaro, out in the Ferrari here tonight. Steven Music, going to be in that Blue Wolf Racing. Lovely livery he's brought to the table here tonight in the number 466 Ferrari. Alex Freeman in 29th. Casey Swanseeger in P30 with Rally Dutchy in P31. And last but not least will be Yeager Karu in the number 20 Audi.
Very creative liveries, as you can see there, but I'm going to return us to that front row between the fight of Renato Dornelles and Gabriel Felipe, the two Brazilian drivers. On pole is Felipe. He sits at 422 points with already a win 2 rounds ago and an 8th and a 6th, or 8th and a 2nd last round in the 2 races that they faced. But still such high rankings with a drop result at the beginning of the season. He's an extremely talented driver, and it's been him and Dornelles, the 2 Brazilians, dueling at the front all year.
As we have a little bit of a rundown, looks like the session got restarted there briefly for whatever reason, but is what it is. We do it live here, of course, folks, live TV, as always. Just get a brief little rundown of some of the lovely liveries that we have on the grid. We can see those penalties being accumulated. Those are, of course, going to be from previous race infringements. So those 20-second penalties you're seeing are more than likely due to a lap 1 penalty, picking up a 10-second, which resulted in a double time there for, of course, lap 1 incidents, resulting in ×2 the penalty. And
that's the first time I've seen that, and I do enjoy that a lot because it's just very... I think it's very punctual on, maybe you shouldn't absolutely dive bomb this guy in turn 1 of a hour and 30-minute race. And I think that's well appreciated in a community like this.
Yeah, we have some very nice rules. Of course, in the Rookie League as well, being lap 1 reviewed in the only lap that is. But it is, it's nice. Obviously, don't hit each other. That's the biggest rule of racing. Not biggest rule of racing, but it's the biggest goal of racing is don't get into a collision with the other driver, especially your teammate.
As long as you're not in NASCAR, of course, where that's a little bit of a gray area from time to time, but yeah, we are in New South Wales, Australia, obviously, on Mount Panorama, right?
Yeah.
Back me up on this. Yep. Okay. I always feel like I get it wrong, but you're
100% right.
Just thinking that's right. But anyway, you're going to see Felipe at the front there. That purple and neon green car kind of just giving me like, I don't know. I feel like it's giving me, it feels rapid. It looks rapid with those bright colors.
It does look quick now that you mention it. It's quick. It's intimidating. It shows up in your rearview mirror, and you probably don't want it there for long. I think the same though. Professor Kronotis, I gotta love his approach though to the field. He's in the mid pack, obviously. But wearing that high visibility vest, OSHA would be proud. And the odds of him getting into a collision are 0, actually. In fact, he's wearing his high visibility vest. So according to OSHA, nothing can hurt him.
If only we could customize helmets, because I would expect him to have a good hard hat on with a racing suit that is reflective of a construction worker's one. But obviously that Trackalicious racing driver, if he gets into a collision, it's obviously the other person's fault because he is visible and wearing the protective safety gear on his car, mind you.
No, we don't actually condone this rule, but for the sake of comedy, I love it.
I was hoping you'd back me up on that, as that is not a real rule. We do view every collision as a correct stewarding way, in a fair racing way, giving out penalties to those who, well, not deserve them, but caused them.
We also have some energy being thrown the way of Devin Smallblock Anthony, who of course blew up his engine famously at Zolder in the Camaro. He will never live that one down.
Yeah, when we eventually, one day, in my vision, I feel the Le Mans Garage 56 car in my head, and I think about that every day. As one day, there's a chance that Camaro puts a GT3 car in there, and we're gonna get the GT3 on ACC Camaro, and it will be the greatest day of my life.
I will say, we also, well, there's a couple cars I think that need to be added first that people would be very upset that they weren't added. But, you know, yeah, that's beside the point. The cars are going to be getting ready here to line up as they come down the Conrad Straight, but still 1.1 miles ahead of us. So we got John Hawley here. What's the weather forecast? Will it clear up? You know, my personal, of course, I'm famously the weatherman. I've forgotten that title, as it just, you know, forgotten over the years. But, yeah, it's going to clear up. That's my forecast. I'm pretty sure it is going to clear up, in all honesty, just looking at the forecast. It's dying down. I suspect we might have some changeable conditions by the end, but it's not going to completely dry up. So really, it's going to be a testament to these drivers' right foot and how little throttle they can give while still maximizing that minimum speed.
Looks like that first half hour is going to be pretty wet, I believe, based on the thing in my top right, the forecast. But that first 30 minutes will be wet, which will probably change up strategies with pit tires, and they do all have a manual pit stop. So it'll be interesting to see if somebody's going to try and save tires and wait till the end where they can switch and be ready on a hot, dry track. But we'll see how this goes. I assume they're starting on the wets, especially on Mount Panamora, and we'll be away in a moment with the 649 car, the only one in the starting from the garage.
Yes, indeed. Gabriel Felipe here on pole position, along with Renato Dornales. I'm Mike Nause in the booth as we get ready here to go green. A slow approach here as we come to the line. Carson Kass also with me tonight as we go green, green, green. Gabriel Felipe off to a smashing start. Heading now down to the first corner. It's a send there from Ali Raza onto the inside. Renato Dornales forced to the outside grass. That's going to affect his traction on rejoin. We're going to see here Wilson Fernandez on that run. Has the mass overspeed as Anton Wass also coming up into that rear view. But Ali Raza under threat here for the potential, or excuse me, Gabriel Felipe under threat for the lead of the race. Ali Raza onto the outside here. Is he going to go for it? I reckon no. It's a bit of a bold send early on, but Renato Dornales is going for it here down the inside. He did make that position up onto Wilson Fernandez. Quinn Smith behind. We see contact though as there is multiple cars, and we have a big pile up here. Casey Schutte getting involved, Larry Lanham, Christian Dubé, Will Hossman, Vedika Stitsiev. Lot of carnage here. Let's go back and see what happened. But oh my goodness, it seems that has happened very early on. And of course, well, turning into a parking lot very quickly. Jason Provolone getting some contact.
Yeah, one guy goes around, you all go around. It kind of is just an unfortunate situation for most of those drivers there. Just got caught in one person's mistake and gets 6 or 7 cars into the contact area there.
Quinn Smith making the best of a bad situation. Let's see, in terms of gainers, we have Kaio Jr. making up 6 positions. Oh no, Quinn Smith has lost it on the hill. He saves it though. What a save, to be fair. Doesn't end up parking it into one of the worst spots you possibly can on this track. And he continues on unfazed, just 1 position down.
Yeah, a bit of a thin area there. Definitely don't want to get spun around because there's about a 99% chance you're going to get hit unless your back is to the wall there, as the McLaren car behind him tries to make a move into the chase, which I like to call the blender a little bit more.
Side by side, Quinn Smith on the racing line. He should have the advantage. He's late onto the brakes though, potentially, but no. We see Jake Wells backing out very early. Smart decision. Up ahead, Anton Wass trying to make ground up though in the rut row racing onto Wilson Fernandez.
It looks like the 71 car in that accident has returned to the garage. Not quite. That is Dubé, who was in the 71 car, who's now back in the garage. Yeah, that's it. That's all
Unfortunate.
I've got.
Christian Dubé was fairly high up in the championship standings, if I'm not mistaken. I think in fact, he was in P3.
Third, yeah.
So that's going to be a pretty heavy hit onto the points. Of course, there is one drop round, which he has already used with a P23, but I think that will be transferred over to this one.
Yeah, I mean, that drop around can get your standings much, much better. And in the sense of that, I believe that just completely nullifies a race. Correct? Explain that a little bit here.
We'll explain it a little bit here as Jason Provolone sends it down the inside, gets it done onto Zane Blisket. Nicely done. Zane's about to fall under threat, though, from the cars behind in one of the worst locations to do so. The Audi cutting, not going to be making any sort of moves there. And all the way up the hill, overtaking just about impossible. Nothing's impossible, of course, but it's very, very challenging and bold, to say the least. But
yeah, definitely don't want to do something like that early.
Just got to be patient. I know it's painful when you know that you're faster than the driver in front, but it's not worth the time loss of hitting the wall very, very hard, along with taking another driver out and getting a penalty in the next race. So let's hope he listens, because the Conrad Straight coming up here, going to be one of your best overtaking opportunities, obviously. 1.1 miles. Got to get the best exit out of Forest Elbow and try to capitalize.
Ooh, engine hits the wall there. Looks like he's stopped and returned to garage immediately, right ahead of that pack, but that doesn't seem to affect anybody's races. Yeah, the straightaway is the obvious most safe overtaking spot, which is why we're going to do that as Provolone attempts to make a move here.
I gotta say, smart return to garage from CJ Engine. As much as I don't necessarily promote that, here on Mount Panorama, it's a little bit different. When you're blocking the road and basically guaranteed to cause a collision, the smartest thing that you can do is just return to the garage. It's gonna save you time because you're gonna end up getting way more damage and having to limp back rather than just hitting it. You're gonna get a 2 minute and 30 second penalty, but it sucks, but it is what it is. Shouldn't have crashed in the first place.
Yep, unfortunate, and that's going to bring him to the garage spot with 3 other cars sitting there, most of them involved in that turn 1 accident that kind of put them in a poor situation, unfortunately for them. Just kind of deck of cards they were given. Hand of cards.
Jan Flocks behind here. Lovely livery as well. I need to double check.
That is
no
beautiful.
pun intended. But it is the Czech flag. Okay, that was no pun intended either. Just an FYI.
That is.
Oh, Jan doesn't have. Wait a second. Jan doesn't have the Czech car. Hang on. Who's representing the? Zane has the Czech flag on his car, and he's battling a Czech driver. Hold on.
Yeah.
What? No, but it's not though. It's not the Czech flag. It's white. It's okay. I apologize to any. It's colors. I'm not sure it's a flag. Zane's American, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe he was just feeling the freedom spirit, red, white, and blue, or I don't know, maybe big France guy. We don't know.
He's gonna be a big fan of France.
Big PSG guy, perhaps.
Well, regardless, Jan Flocks, the Czech driver, coming for the very similarly liveried car in front, but it also just isn't now that I'm really looking at it. You know, we make a fool of ourselves live. It happens.
That is kind of the job, but obviously, yeah, Young Fox a little bit slower in pace, I believe, just not by a measurable amount, more like 0.002, as we kind of see that here, drivers lifting and just sort of taking it easy these first half hour, 45 minutes, hour, but you want to try and keep yourself in the best position, go as fast as possible without risking your entire race, as stopping potentially in the middle of the mountain and trying to return to garage as quickly as possible, because if you get hit, your race might be not starting again for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, it could be quite brutal. The mountain, as I said earlier, giveth and it taketh away. It's one of those brutal beasts, the cruel mistress, as some NASCARs may say. I know, obviously, NASCAR fans might get mad at me for this, but the Lady in Black, if there is a track that is.
I would say I'm a pretty big NASCAR fan myself, and watched that Atlanta today. I think that was...
Oh my goodness! Let's not spoil anything, but
I'll leave the number 7 up there while you're watching it. but
We
yeah.
won't spoil. I don't like to spoil race results, but if you haven't seen the Atlanta race, do go and watch it because wow, that was.
Even if you're not a NASCAR fan.
Even if you're not a NASCAR fan, if you're a racing fan, you need to go and watch the highlights at the very least of that race because that was an incredible, incredible races. Oh my goodness, we have a bit of a development. That's Patrick Dubois, who's, well, traded some paint with the barrier there, and that's going to affect that front left suspension, I think, quite a bit. Let's see.
That about, I think that would have been 100 miles an hour. I have mine in miles because I'm a, I don't know, freedom breathing and drinking individual.
We're freedom here. You can use miles an hour. You're free to. Look, I was on a British broadcast earlier. I know the feeling. I had to convert. Huff in chat. Welcome, Huff. Oh no, and Karu accidentally changed the tires to dries. Oh goodness.
Oh no.
That's
number 55 McLaren. I believe that is the engine coming out of the pits now as he finally has gotten rid of the damage.
I say riding along with Patrick Dubois, that hit on the wall doesn't seem to have affected the car as much as I expected. This will be the real test. Can he keep the wheels straight on the straight? Yeah. Yeah, he's good. Yeah. Car's in shape. So that hit on the wall really not phasing Patrick too much. Got pretty lucky with that, to be honest.
And what's facing me about that car is the beautiful livery as we switch to immediately the next beautiful livery in that 99 car. That is, I keep talking about it. I will actually not stop talking about it tonight. You will hear me just all over the liveries. I'm a big livery guy. I love paint. I don't know how to, that sounded like I eat it, but I just love the creativity behind a lot of these drivers. And that's another part about sim racing is it's just, you can be creative. The racing is so close and not one guy wins the entire thing every time.
You heard it here, folks. Carson Kass eats paint.
That's true.
Side by side, though, up the hill we go. Anton Wass on the outside is going to get left to dry here. In fact, well, nobody's getting left to dry in these conditions, I should say. But Quinn Smith, slides, loses the back end and tags the wall. Is going to go pretty much nicely back, though, through the Audi cutting.
That was
that Audi,
a miracle, again, from Quinn Smith to save that car. I mean, he's going fast through that corner, and the wall obviously is going to help him from not flying away. So that's the one benefit about this track. But I assume he's on a very low support setup as he does it again, slides into that corner, loses the back again.
Yeah, the grip not quite there for Quinn Smith at this stage of the race, and we're only 10 minutes in. Looks good on the downhill. Looks very good on the downhill. Also, John Hawley seemingly agreeing with the paint eating. Also, Vadik having connection issues. Hate to see it, Vadik. I don't know what to... I know we were discussing if VPNs make a difference or not. It seems that VPNs don't make a difference, but obviously that's something that you could try. Do not take... I'm not a technologist, if that's a thing.
I guess it would be a IT, technical support, as that is a big group going through the mountain right now. Kind of interested to see if anybody makes contact. I think somebody did with the wall, but as this has all gone on, Felipe's got a 2.8 second lead.
Casey Schutte bottlenecked at this current stage. He was involved in that big crash that we had early on, of course. Trying to make up his ground. He started in P11, currently down 10 positions from where he started. In that slipstream, though, let's see if we can make it 9. Gets a little bit of a block there from the Ferrari, as the Ferrari takes the inside line, then goes out. All fair, though.
I believe he did not hit the garage, correct? Because he's on the lead lap. He is one of the few that did not hit the garage. Most of them did in that collision just because of damage. So I saw somebody try to drive out of it, and I believe it was that one of the Porsches that tried to drive out of it and just smashed into a wall and made it worse.
Larry Lanham side by side with Steven Tomazic as they look for the braking zone in the first corner, and there's Zane Blisket parked on the side. I don't know how he got. Okay, well, Zane rejoining the track loses quite a few positions and looks like maybe even a couple more.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there. I think he kind of just lost it going into that turn, and then there was 8 cars in the, pack of slipstream behind him.
And everybody's settling there. I was a little bit worried heading into that corner.
Me too. I was worried I'm actually worried into every corner with these. They're going too wide, and ooh. Larry Lanham just gets kind of pushed out there. Not much to do. He didn't have the right speed there. He kind of was forced into the wall.
Okay, he's going for it. This is gonna happen every time. And there's a big one.
Yeah, that is not the right corner you want to overtake on unless they are going significantly slower on the outside racing line, and that's going to leave one of the Audis, I believe, out there. Didn't quite catch that number.
Yeah, so Larry Lane, I'm going to have a talk with the stewards after that one. I mean, I'll leave it to the stewards. Can't make any judgments immediately, but definitely looking at it from the helicopter cam, yeah. We'll leave it at that.
I'm not an expert. It just doesn't feel like a move you can make in that corner. But
no.
has gone off, man, and that's a bit rough.
Oh, and it happened even 20 seconds before. He's been stranded there for a while now. Looks like there was a bit of contact between him and the AMG, very light. This is, it's Bathurst, everybody. It's what you would expect. Patrick Dubois seems to have had an incident himself, as we might catch the tail end of it, or might catch the beginning end of it, but we'll see. No, we don't, but Patrick rejoins the track in P17. And holy smokes, AV6 got 13 months on a 13-month streak. That's almost a year.
That is more than a year. But, yeah, 13 months, that's a very long time to be supporting a stream. Obviously, I'm new, but we thank you for the long-time support, and hopefully I'll be here for the more 13 months of you watching. 26 months of you watching. Ooh,
Mason
we're seeing our
also?
first pit.
First off, I just want to also say Mason joining us here in chat. These guys should be... Look, you just got to learn to... The only way to learn how to rejoin is by doing it and thinking while doing it. You know, it happens. Getting knocked off the track. It's just about how you... you got to remember that the monkey brain kicks in very quickly, and you got to prevent that monkey brain from doing its thing, which basically just says, oh, rejoin track, rejoin. You got to stop that. That's the... The primal instinct doesn't help you in those cases.
Yeah, it's very much you just kind of want to get in that mindset of just like, I will lose more time if I try and rejoin because my car is about to turn into a piece of scrap metal, and it is a very hard thing to do, and I've been sim racing for probably about a year, and I still haven't gotten over it from time to time. It does happen, but I believe Shoot is going to be our first pit, whether it's for damage or not. He's going to hit the pits for, yeah, likely damage looking at that car.
This is a lovely little scrap developing here between Quinn Smith and Wilson Fernandez. Seems like Quinn trying to get Wilson on the hurry up here. Of course, these two have been teammates in the past, so very familiar with each other's driving. Quinn Smith, of course, the Daytona 500 winner. Oh my goodness, Eric's gonna be... hey, Quinn Mason confirming it! As literally I say it. You'd love to see it. Thank you, Mason, for reinforcing that. Also, Mason, I wanted to say thank you for supporting on Patreon. Yeah, big shout out to you for that.
Smith nearly loses the back end again on the exit of that corner, and Smith's pace has been rapid, but for him, I think it's just been a few mistakes on different ends of these corners in the sense of, I mean, he lost it in, I believe it was the cutting and skyline earlier, and that's normally places where you ruin your race, but he's been very talented and been able to save that car more than once.
I will say, it's been a bit of a slog. Vadik is flipping amazing. Thank you so much, Vadik. Oh my goodness, bringing back old jokes as well. Thank you for the $5. The $5 dono.
Smith just made that move through the cutting. He's going to take P4 away from Fernandez in that 888 McLaren. Some rapid pace from the Audi so far. And I don't know, looks like he's one of the fastest drivers on track, but obviously you can't ignore Felipe, who has now got a 5-second lead and has the fastest lap on track by almost a full second.
We should probably mention him, huh? Now that you mention it. Yeah, Gabriel Felipe, dominant. Is there much more to say? He hasn't put a foot wrong this entire race. Started in P1, is continuing his P1 very, very strong. 5 seconds is the gap. Fastest lap belongs to him. 2:07.8 is the quickest lap. He's currently lapping at a 2:07.9, which is the only driver in the 2:07s currently. Ali Raza, last lap, 2:09.0, fastest 2:09 or 2:08.5.
I mean,
So we're
for them,
seeing
it's just gonna be
quite the difference.
finding pace. It's just going to be finding pace. Apologies for cutting you off there. It's just kind of about how you want to start this race. We're about, I believe, almost 20 or so minutes into this, just short 18, but it's all about finding that pace, and you obviously don't want to find yourself saving tires too hard and getting all the way behind, but it's endurance racing. It's definitely a strategy, and it's especially in sim racing, you can see that strategy kind of get a little bit more aggressive in terms of pushing, saving tires, but in the wets, your tires are going to have a lot more life.
Yeah, full send, brother, as we're seeing from Kaio Jr. right into the barrier. That is not quite what you want. Sorry, Kaio. Definitely can call that one a call. I literally just switched over and was about to mention the battle, but you know it happens. A little bit deep. The best Sum 41 impression, though, and Casey Schutte there comes out right in front of him. Looks like Casey on a different lap.
With you and the track limits, and it happens.
Also, V joining us. Thank you very much, V, for being here. I just wanted to say that. Watch the Bathurst 12-hour and saw the Porsche Team 1 had a blast. That's awesome. I didn't actually catch that, unfortunately. Also, Flirty630, welcome. And Lambo doesn't look half bad around here. Lambo looks very solid, but like I said, the McLaren in both wet and dry has just been, I mean, pretty much next level. Drew Burakovsky still representing that 10-second penalty in P9. That's going to affect him come pit phase. He will have to stop and then will remain stationary for 10 seconds, and then he will be allowed to make his pit stop.
My microphone is muted. That's why it didn't work earlier. But I was going to say, sorry, about those McLarens. They filled the first P8 positions, and unfortunately, some of them have just kind of lost it in the corner, gotten tipped by somebody else, and now you're seeing a little bit of an infestation of Audis and Ferraris. The Central European, I would call that. A bit of an there, and I think it's more up to the drivers rather than the cars, because Dornell's has been rapid. Obviously, he's P1 in standings, if I am correct. I am correct. And then Smith obviously has had a very fast car with some very light mistakes.
Mistakes, though, they add up. Of course, the light mistakes, they can turn into heavy ones. So far, we haven't seen that, luckily. We do have a full onboard lap redemption from Devin Anthony. We'll get that here on the next one. See, Devin should be. He's coming down the Conrad Straight. We'll pick him up here in a moment. Battles on track are subsiding. We see some drivers starting to make their pit stop very early. That's quite early, in fact. Let's take a look here at the conditions, as the conditions are going to be lightening up, but continuing pretty much constant, so not much of a change. So I'd just stick it out for now. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. No reason to make an early stop, in my opinion, even for the undercut, but let's get on board here with the likes of Devin Small Block Anthony.
Just kind of wondering, from your perspective, what do you think is the ideal pit strategy? If you're in one of these cars right now, what's your idea even with the undercut? Because I feel like the undercut right now is a bit early, but I'm kind of wondering when you think that should happen.
You know, in wet conditions, I'm not too much of a fan for fancy strategies. I'd rather play it long. It depends on the tires, really. It really depends when these conditions, on terms of what the driver's going to do. I'd say just do, plan on the basic strategy of pitting it around the halfway mark, around that 47-minute mark or 45-minute mark, and just plan on continuing on from there. Otherwise, adapt. If your tires are getting too hot, then come in. Obviously, you don't want to be driving on balloons. If your tires are too cold, make the adjustments, but the problem is if the conditions change later, you might have to, well, either stick it out on poor tires or make a good decision or rather, maybe make a decision in general and come in for a change of tires and suffer that time loss.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard decision overall, just because in the sense of you want to have that best strategy imaginable, but sometimes when, somebody was turned around there that Devin Anthony just passed.
Bit of a scare?
A bit of a scare. I didn't expect to see headlights instead of brake lights ahead of him, but it comes down to what you want, and sometimes fancy strategy, it'll work, but going for it all the time is not going to work, because, ooh!
Devin is oh my goodness, parting the seas. There's Jonathan Dubé. We have a front row seat to Jonathan Dubé's demise. And Devin Anthony continues on like nothing happened. What an onboard lap. Lizzie, you picked the right lap to redeem this one. My goodness.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he definitely just lost it right in that corner, Dubé. I think may have locked and then just went down that hill a little, or went up the hill a little too. Like, I don't even know what happened. He just looks like he slammed his accelerator and then lost it, to be honest.
Could have been a lockup, but could have been probably a lockup, a little bit of off-camber steering. That corner's tricky. There's really only one line to take. Yeah, a little bit of brown pants there from Devin Anthony. Definitely testing the structural fortitude of his racing trousers, but hey, it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, definitely a little extra grip on that steering wheel. A little, hopefully, like a try not to break it as I grip onto it for dear life, even though that won't help me. It's more the steering that will. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm not that big into horror games, but sim racing on Mount Panamora, that is definitely one of my favorites.
You were gonna say it right the first time, and then you corrected yourself wrong.
Really?
Yes.
Panamora?
No, Panorama. You said
Panorama.
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 Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm thinking
It's
of
like
the
a picture.
camera company. Sorry.
It's like a picture.
Panorama. All right, guys.
You'll get it. You'll get it. He's a newbie, folks. Don't mind him.
Yeah, I'm newer to this sim racing thing as a whole, and especially Australian sim racing. Is a little bit of brown plants there for Junior and Flags.
What a save, Kayo Jr. I gotta say, we saw a mistake from him earlier in a similar spot on the track, but at BMW definitely not quite doing what he wants at this stage of the race. Its grip is minimal. I think we're going to see Phlox here make an overtake relatively soon. Looking at the pace, we see a 2:11.1 compared to the 2:11.8 of Kayo Jr. So it's a matter of when, not if at this stage, but Kayo, and you get a round of applause there. That was a lovely save.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful as he got up there, and I think he's going to survive and probably get this line. Maybe not get overtaken. Yeah, great line from him. Kept it out of the corner, and with that save, he's going to keep his position too.
We have a face cam Fiesta redemption.
Oh,
let's hope.
Goodness.
I think this button works. I tested it. As we test it again, it works. You love to see it.
Guys.
Hello, everybody.
Fix the hair.
And everyone immediately redeeming a hydrate, as is the standard. So, do you have a green cap on that water bottle?
Yes, I do. I thought about
hilarious.
that, and I just wasn't. I was a little too lazy to go downstairs and grab a new one because there's already ice in this one.
Carson has a similar theory on mine, Wet Socks. It turns out that the half gallon is the average size. So anyone that thinks otherwise, as we can, Carson, let's compare water bottles. You want to?
Mine's the half gallon's on the floor right now. This is the small shaker bottle. It's got like a refresher. In it. The half gallon one's a little away when I need it. I've got more water than you. I've got more water than you. There's a half gallons on the floor.
Yeah, but it's not visible though.
Oh, you're right.
You're missing the point.
You're right.
You're not backing me up here. That's the thing. I needed a See, thank you, V. Thank you. It's not about it. Look, we have good racing ahead of us here, and we're chatting about the size of a water bottle. Let's be real here, folks. Drew Burakovsky is on the chase for Jake Wells, so do keep that a lookout.
It's what gets us to the good racing, is because you listen to water bottles, then you're like watching the beautiful product in front of you, and it really, I think, enhances your experience.
Well, obviously. And yes, Carson also with a very nice tie, I gotta say. I complimented him before the stream. He's also a little bit too big, so he's gonna shrink there, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just blocking the entire right side of the track. Don't worry about it.
It's okay, it's okay. Look, we plan things out here at TRACKILICIOUS, and everything goes to plan, so...
Obviously, that's why... Well, the plan is that it doesn't go to plan sometimes, but...
It's live
that's
TV.
For your experience. It's for your experience, really.
Also, Wet Socks. I'm not going to comment on that. Jan Phlox, though, in the chase here. On the chase, heading now down towards Murray's corner. Still Drew Burakovsky with that 10-second penalty. Looking at the times, that's going to place him back into P10, so drop him down the field a little bit. Not going to be the biggest hindrance. We have Will Hossman, unfortunately, with a yellow flag again, it looks like on the mountain section. But the move is on here for Jan Phlox onto Kayo Jr. Not able to make it stick just yet.
I'll give you a little leader update. Felipe's moved his extension of time. He's about 6.7 out, and his fastest lap is now 2:07.610. So he's getting faster every lap. Made a little mistake the previous one. and had a 2:08.547 last lap, but he's on pace to get back in that 2:07 range.
Bit of work to do, but definitely doable. The Brazilian here struggling still in that BMW, I have to say. 2:11.1. Needs to improve that. And
That's
V,
definitely...
I cannot agree with you more on that. This game is gorgeous. It's like watching real GT racing. I will say I get confused whenever I see the thumbnails of sim racing versus actual GT world. So I can relate. Once you start watching, you can tell. But when you're first glancing at it, yeah, it's awesome. I gotta say, ACC, one of the best games. Is Chrono has a bit of a mare there, puts it into the gravel, but thankfully his high visibility vest keeping him safe.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Junior was only able to see him, of course, because of his high visibility vest Ferrari. And maybe somebody in the community should get him an OSHA sponsor car. That'd be big for him, I think.
Chrono has some liveries to update in general, but he's doing bigger and better things like making our bot. So let's leave him to that. Professor Canota's an absolute legend of the community, of course, one of our head admins, and just an amazing guy. Great driver and an absolute brilliant mind when it comes to programming.
I'm sure seems like a wonderful member of the community. I've yet to meet him, but hopefully I will meet him.
He's a quiet boy.
I mean, it definitely happens, and some people are quiet, and some people can't be as good as him as he is in this racing. He's been very efficient throughout the day here. He I believe he was in P9 before he lost that up top.
And John Hawley asking who is pit. Also, we do have a pit wall available. If you guys are curious, do check that out. Casey Schutte is currently or JP Bellinger, I should say, is our pit leader as it stands. P15 back has mostly made their pit stops. Pretty much everybody else sticking to fairly standard strategies as it stands. Ali Raza, our race leader, Gabriel Felipe, whom once again we have not mentioned for a good majority of time, but as we approach that 1 hour mark, we might as well go over our top 10 real quick. Gabriel Felipe here in P1, the number 27 ORT Esports, or QRT Esports, wait, ORT? Hold on. ORT, he's in the ORT car. With Ali Raza in P2 in the Trackalicious McLaren, Renato Dornales in P3 in the Vacuum Racing Ferrari, Wilson Fernandez P4 in the Vacuum Racing McLaren, Anton Was in the Rut Row Racing McLaren in P5, Chris Moses 6th here in the Precision Motorsports Ferrari, battling with Jake Wells, so that position not quite sealed, but big damage there on the front end of Jake Wells' McLaren, with Drew Burakovsky trying to find some ground as well. Eric Gakosian in P9, and Kaio Jr. rounding out our top 10.
Kind of on a different note with Wells, I am a little new to this community. Wells is a fairly large streamer, correct?
Yes, Jake Wells, awesome guy, awesome streamer. I suck at this over on Twitch. He most certainly does not suck at this, I can assure you that. Mostly an LFM driver, but has been joining us more recently, and he's been an absolute treat to have. Despite his absolute terrible luck that he's had in these leagues, I have to say, it's been genuinely, it's entertaining, but also I feel for Jake because he has had some terrible luck. Also, Washed Up Squid joining us. Welcome.
Welcome, Washed Up Squid. It's obviously, it's racing. It happens. Sometimes you just get the short end of the stick, and it's severely unfortunate. But, I mean, Wells obviously is a very talented driver. As Felipe, I'm watching Felipe, he nearly lost it up top of the mountain, just as I think he did lose. I think he did tap a wall, so I'm interested to see if that's going to affect his rear suspension in any way, because he did hit that wall pretty hard, I think. But, yeah, Wells is obviously a very talented streamer, and that bad luck is sure to run out, right?
We'll see. But speaking of talented streamers, Chris Moses, another one of them. He streams LFM over on Twitch as well at Chris Moses? Is it just Chris? It might just be Chris Moses, honestly. I can't remember. Probably live now, but yeah, another streamer battling. It's a battle of the Twitch streamers. Kaio Jr. has smacked the wall, a good one here at the bottom of the mountain as well. Let's go back and take a look at this. Was there contact between him and Chronotis? That is the question we're looking for. Heading into Quarry Bend, Chronotis takes the inside line, sends it up the inside. It's fairly clean. The tree's blocking it there momentarily. It's hard to tell if Chrono ran the BMW out of room or if that was just a bit of a mistake there from Kaio Jr. But regardless, 00 Raven, John, Thank you, John Wright, once again, for the raid. Hope your stream went well. Were you doing darts? What were you doing? I didn't actually see that you were live. Were you playing Fortnite again?
Junior and Chronotus at the top of the mountain are having a pretty decent battle. Junior tapped a wall again, and if you look at the front of that BMW, things don't look all right in the damage department, but he's barely staying ahead here as Chronotus tries to find a way past him.
Big damage on the front end. I think we're going to see a pretty easy pass. Chronotus takes the wide line here, going to maximize the minimum speed onto the Conrad straight. BMW's still quick. Definitely not to be counted out whatsoever.
Yeah, Junior's had a lot of straight line speed. It feels like people that are supposed to overtake him, and if he makes a mistake, he just can barely keep ahead. But I'm not sure if that's going to be the case here with Chronotus as they head into the chase. Ooh.
Chronotus needs to be careful here, and yeah, he unfortunately got hit off into an absolutely terrible spot. I got to say, Kyle Jr. definitely going to be bearing the fault on that one due to the damage. Understeered there, ran Chronotus out of track. But
yeah, bad situation for the 42 Ferrari there, and it's definitely just it's gonna happen from time to time. Understeer on a wet course, it's bound to happen, and Chronotus gets forced off. And I'm wondering, he shouldn't have too much damage, but I'm wondering if Chase is gonna need to pit at some point. When he pits, if he's gonna get a repair, and a serious repair at that, because he has hit a lot of walls. I don't think he's hit the pits yet.
He's immediately into the pits as you say that, actually, and yeah, he more than likely is going to be getting that repair. But his livery didn't help much there. No, what are you talking about, John? High visibility vest, it was... look, it maybe didn't work. I don't know, OSHA... Are you telling me that OSHA lies? Is that what you're telling me?
Just under the hour mark, and that Ferrari is still on the road and climbing. Started, I'm not sure where they started. It's the one I actually didn't write down, but they are 11th now and fell to 13 and then back to 12 and then back to 11, and they are climbing from a few incidents they've been a part of, and it's pretty good for them.
Evan Anthony actually up 17 positions. Our biggest gainer tonight.
And a lucky dog, but that's unrelated entirely. It's a different sport.
No! Why'd we say anything?
It's okay. He saved it. He saved it.
All right, we're taking the camera off of Devin Anthony, heading over to Eric the Boss Kassian for his mandatory screen time. I know John Wright was doing some iRacing ovals and Lego Speed Champions. That's awesome. That game sounds super.
Needs to get a. We need to get a league on that.
Hey, we got Stream Racer.
That's what's the jetpack game from a long time ago? Oh my gosh, the jet ski game from a long time ago.
Oh, you talking about the ones that you went to like arcades to play?
Yeah, and
that game was sick.
Xbox port. It looks like Junior now leaving the pits. He's gonna come into some traffic, but he definitely had damage.
And John Hawley is like, I know that one. I got one of those in my basement. No, Jet Moto is apparently what you're looking for. Hydro Thunder. No, Hydro Thunder. That's the one that I'm familiar with.
It was Hydro Thunder and Jet Moto. I remember Hydro Thunder as the one I played specifically, though.
Yes, Hydro Thunder was the one that we had down at our local pizza parlor. So, Rally Dutchy had a prediction earlier on in the race that they would be making contact with the barrier, and it seems that has come true.
That car, I believe alignment wasn't great, but they need to hit the pits soon, because I don't know.
Actually, they're not in the worst spot, to be fair. They're out of the firing line. Oh my goodness,
yeah,
okay. That was a less than ideal rejoin, but it happens.
No serious incident in terms of somebody losing their entire car there, but very, very dangerous and very heads up by, I believe that was Moses? That was not Moses. Moses P6. One of the Ferraris. Very heads up.
Brief yellow flag from Casey Swanseeger. Everything seems to be under control there. Up ahead, Casey Schutte still battling with Kyle Jr.
Felipe has got... Ooh.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Once again, adding another commentator's curse here. What has happened to the Noobs R Us car? Heading on down towards Hell Corner. Is this going to be a case of getting a tire into the grass under braking? That's my prediction here. No, it looks like it's too much throttle. No, okay. just misses the braking zone. Fair enough. It happens.
That does happen, absolutely. I'm going to give a little bit of a leader update on Felipe as we are almost at the 50-minute mark left in this race. 7.2 ahead. That gap to Raza behind is pretty much staying the same. They're lapping pretty similar times, and his best time hasn't improved, and Raza's best time has not improved either from a 2:08.110.
And a bit of drama, apparently, from some of our drivers. Fair enough. You know, I mean, sim racing tensions are high, and everyone wants to win, obviously, but at the end of the day, we are all just having fun, and I know everyone's like, oh, well, it's not a game, it's not a game, it's a simulator. No, it's a game, it's still a game, like, you know.
Yeah.
It is a simulator, I'm not denying that, but it's also a game, so, you know.
I always view it as... Oh, sorry, continue.
we just have a little bit of fun, you know, we don't need to rip each other's heads off or anything like that.
I always view it as it's real racing, but it's definitely a game, and I think there's a certain line to be drawn there because you're not losing hundreds of thousands of dollars if something does go wrong.
Heck, I view real racing as a game as well, and by certain definitions, but still. It's just all about, you know, being respectful to others and, like I say, not losing the head. It's tough. It's tough. I know. Trust me. I've grown up racing. I know.
Yeah. Been there with sports. That's more my background. I've come from a background of sports in commentating and more esports. So being in a booth for racing is definitely a very new and fun experience. And I think this community has definitely been a reason, part of that, because as I'm watching it, there's definitely a lot of people that are very happy and very happy to be here. And that's a very fun experience to see people that are passionate doing what they love on The Sims.
I love to see the teams as well that develop out there. Obviously, you have the Rutrow Racing boys, the Rockefeller Racing team. You have, of course, the Fuchsia team that's out on track, as well as, I think, a couple of the Mad Fox Racing. I'm probably forgetting a couple, honestly, which is just a testament to what we have here. Mason Pierce, I'm never happy. Yeah, you know, look, I can relate, but it's all right. At least, you know, I get what you mean. Rain
Definitely.
brings out the worst in people. That's also true, Stefan. I will be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes casting, you just can't have a brain. It is a reaction, so it doesn't work all the time. But I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about, so a lot of people, if they're new to sim racing, they see the top few cars being McLarens, Ferraris, and just at the back end of it with Burakovsky, I believe it is.
Yeah, he nailed it.
In that Lamborghini. What is the reason that we're seeing only at least one Porsche, one BMW, and two Audis tonight on track?
So a lot of that is down to just driver preference for one, but in terms of the recent BOPs that have come out, obviously the two most recent cars that have been added were the McLaren Evo 2 as well as, I mean, minus the GT2s, let's not get technical, folks, as well as the Ferrari. Those are two of the newer cars, and they seem to be two of the more dominant cars in terms of performance, obviously. I mean, you know, ACC, new things, they want the newer things to be better. But the McLaren, as of the previous balance patch, I think everyone knows, was maybe a little bit on the broken side. A little bit quick. Ferrari, not quite as quick. Pranav Kalevala, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Much appreciated. Thank you, Pranav, for joining us. Our Indian brother. But back to that. It was basically, so one of the things I guess I should start off with is the beauty of GT racing is the fact that all these cars can race with each other in the first place. Obviously, rarely would you ever see on the road a Porsche 911 go up against a Ferrari 296. The Ferrari would win every day, just to be honest. But the reason that is of course due to weight. You've added balance of performance, which makes these cars all in a similar realm of speed. They just have different strengths. Some have cornering advantages, some have straight line speed advantages, but it all balances out to be relatively similar lap times in the same distance. But the reason you see the McLaren dominance is simply, well, it's just the most dominant. It's the quickest. It's the best through the corner. It handles very well. The Ferrari is sort of in a similar boat. I don't like the Ferrari as much, but the McLaren Evo 2, brilliant piece of machinery.
Being newer to ACC and kind of touching in that, the McLaren definitely, like, from first glance, feels like the best car. And I've always been a very big Porsche fan and a very big McLaren fan, just kind of personally throughout my life experiences. Ooh, speaking of Porsche, that Swanziger hits the wall, gets a brief yellow on the other end. But the McLarens are definitely fast, and it's just out of preference. I think that's the biggest thing too with this as well, aside from, you know, the McLaren being broken, but also that new Ferrari. That thing sounds like when I race in it, it sounds addicting. The sound is so nice.
The popping of the exhaust as it goes down the gears, it is a very intoxicating sound, I will say. But of course, Ferrari 296, a little bit different in terms of engine. We have, that's the other thing I love about this, of course, the Porsche with a flat 6-boxer engine. We have the Lamborghini that you're looking at here, a 5.2 liter Audi V12, V10. Why did I say 12? I know that it just slipped out. The 3.0 liter twin turbo V6, of course, that the Ferrari is repping, and nobody is going to forget the inline 6 that the BMW has as well.
That's definitely that's beauty of GT racing, is just the GT3 racing specifically, is just the different engines, how different they're constructed, different manufacturers, how they approach the sport. It only makes for a great race. I personally got to see the Daytona 24 hours, and it just, you can kind of see that with different cars just racing differently because manufacturers, as 2 people go off at the chase. The Swanziger and Phlox went off there, I believe, or actually it was the Mercedes, the Roto Racing Mercedes ahead of the 2 that went off as well, or McLaren. Oh gosh, sorry, don't grill me, guys.
There seems to be a bit of a disagreement for position here in terms of drivers on different laps. Casey Swanseeger is actually on a previous lap. So, having a bit of a battle there. Jan Phlox not happy with it, clearly. Definitely wasn't having any of it. Continues on for now. Has made their 1 mandatory pit stop as well, so really doesn't want to get tangled up with too much. Chris Moses also finding a bit of an issue there, getting blocked there momentarily. But shouldn't be too much of a fret. Actually, I take that back. It's a big fret, as Drew Burakovsky has now come into range. Now, of course, Drew still with that 10-second penalty. Chris doesn't need to worry too much about fighting this position. In fact, he can really just let Drew go if he becomes too much of a problem.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that too. And also, going back on that Porsche, that was one of the cars involved in the crash earlier on, which put them a lap down, and their pace has been just a bit outside of what everybody else's has been, ahead of those cars that he was racing there. So, excuse me, hold on.
It's also, I wanted to bring up a really good point from Stephen Buckley. When it comes to BOP, it's also more than just weight. It's down to ignition timing, as he mentions, as well as the different engine mapping that they're allowed to use. So basically, they do as much as they can to make sure that these cars are as balanced as possible, as there's a chicane on the downhill of Jan Phlox, and that is never where you want to be stranded.
Yeah, that's a scary place to be. And
Uh-oh.
I saw that too. That is not a great place to be stranded.
So we have the Mad Fox racing car in front, who's on a previous lap, I think, of Casey's shooting. You can see the blue flags being waved. Oh, clips the wall there onto the inside, onto the grass, and Casey gets jackknifed and nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Casey, already a lap down. That Lamborghini just seems to have lost it, and Casey will have to try and race for more time back, but I believe he's been faster, but just kind of, again, was involved in that lap 1 crash, and just sort of that echoing throughout. You see him on a previous lap as well, despite having pretty decent pace.
Yeah, Casey not catching any luck in this session, unfortunately. There was not much he could have done. He picked the wrong side of the track. Even though, obviously, you know, it's one of those split-second decisions that you make, and he made the wrong one. We also, Stefan saying, of course, Stefan's a massive Nissan fan. Potts missed lap 1. Was it clean? No, it wasn't. There was what some kids may call the big one.
Definitely the equivalent here, but bound to happen on this track, especially in the absolute blender that is stuck in New South Wales atop a mountain. But it is definitely a lot of fun from the booth. Probably not so much fun in these cars. It can be a little discouraging. And I'll do another little leader update. Felipe is now 11.5 seconds ahead, and he is lapping at 207 in the 207 range at 207.907 kind of being closer to his last few laps as somebody, the Mercedes, got turned behind him. Bellinger into the gravel, as well as the high-vis Ferrari to turn ahead of him.
Yeah, that was Professor Kenotis there on the replay that we just saw, who, well, looped it around, unfortunately, and found himself facing the correct direction, but after momentarily not. We have a disqualification for Christian Dubé. I'm assuming that's picking up a penalty on top of a penalty and resulting in a disqualification. One of those ACC rules that just doesn't make much sense, but, you know, it's just how it works.
It's very unfortunate, but we will see them back. Is this the final round? Or is this the...
No. We have a couple more rounds ahead of us.
Yeah.
Next
All
week,
right,
will, of course, be at a track. That track is known as Indianapolis, obviously.
Ooh.
Which I knew from memory.
That's a track I definitely want to see. It's in proximity to me, obviously, but that's an interesting track itself in the sense of it's very, I don't know how to describe it other than very curvy. There's not very many sharp turns, and you carry a lot of speed throughout the entire, you carry a weird amount of speed throughout the entire track. So it's definitely a challenge. So I'll be interested to see how they do there, but so far in Panorama, I did it. Panorama, I was going to say it wrong. It's definitely been kind of a battle of, well, believe it or not, endurance.
Here we see Chris Moses lining up an overtake onto Drew Burakovsky. Has him in the sights, but it's not quite able to stick. Definitely would be a bit ambitious. Drew Burakovsky going very defensive. The Lamborghini Evo 2 looking strong, especially compared to that Chris Moses there. Damage picked up on the front and the rear, so potentially a bit of a hit of the wall or some other cars. Not going to be affecting, or rather not going to be helping the straight line speed or the cornering ability of this car. And it seems the conditions, looking at the rain here, really haven't changed much, to be completely honest. It said it was supposed to lower or get a little bit less, but we haven't seen that really. It's been pretty consistent on the downpour for the past, well, 49 minutes.
It's looking like it's just going to be one of those races where it is always rainy, which creates interesting situations because obviously you're going a bit slower than you may have been practicing. Some people do not practice in the rain, understandably, because that is something you don't hope for. And I know people that do actually, like out of habit in the sense of like superstition, don't practice at all in sim racing in the rain. So they're manifesting that it doesn't happen, which does not work out, but could be definitely a thing to practice for some of these drivers when they get to Indianapolis because it definitely changes how you race the track.
Absolutely, and another thing to practice, of course, your weekly update from Mike Nause to practice your pit entries, everybody. Don't be like Alex Freeman and receive a stop-go 30 penalty.
Yeah, that's...
Calling you out, Alex. Practice your pit entries, buddy.
It's a crucial skill that you don't think is that crucial, and it can absolutely ruin your race. I think somebody just crashed on the stream. Freeman got into the wall there, lost the car.
I think he was letting some letting some front markers go.
Oh, okay, cool. He got very slow there, and I couldn't tell if he slid, but him in the Tracklicious car lets him go.
I don't necessarily agree with the letting by there on the mountain. It's one of the biggest things about racing is being predictable, and that is not really a predictable spot to let someone by. You should wait another corner for the Conrad straight, just out of safety. It worked out here for Alex, you know, gotta, once again, credit where credit's due. But in the future, potentially something to just wait a little bit longer and allow those drivers by on the straight where it's nice and safe, and you don't have to risk losing the back end, which we've seen from a back marker trying to let someone by earlier.
Yeah, it definitely is also one of those skills that you don't realize is that important, but especially when you're racing the same class, but you sometimes are the traffic, and it can be crucial to wait till a place where it can be safe, and especially on this map, there is not many safe places outside of the beginning and end.
Whoa! Oh, this is a terrible location for Casey Swanseeger. Oh no, he just got battered and bruised every way to Sunday. What happened? So Casey here at the top of the mountain through McPhillamy, or through Reed Park, I think, Solomon here, just cuts it into the grass, loses it. Car is dead here at this point, and he just gets tagged from Chris Moses, and I think that's Drew Burakovsky.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate way to go. Had some cars behind Swanseeger, and he's unfortunately gonna have a lot of damage there with two cars pummeling him there. Just absolutely battered Porsche that cannot get a break tonight.
No, became an absolute passenger at a certain point. Here we have side by side Jan Flox, and that is Devin Anthony in the Ferrari. Also a yellow flag from Chris Moses as he's into... Oh my. Chris Moses is absolutely destroyed. We'll take a look at that here in a moment. I just want to see... Jan Flox does not get the overtake done, but what has happened to Chris Moses? We go back 30 seconds here. Oh, he's already happened. Chris Moses just absolutely destroyed that Ferrari.
Yeah, that... I'm going to jump on board. I don't believe the alignment is very straight as of now. To hit the
you could say that.
Oh, turn new meaning of turn right to go left there, unfortunately for him. Oh, that is a battered Ferrari, and I mean she ain't pretty.
And Nemesis, let's try to keep the spoilers to a minimum, though it was... Yes, like I say, let's we'll keep the spoilers to a minimum. But I appreciate it, nonetheless.
If you are, speaking of the Atlanta race, you should go watch that right after you watch this. It is beautiful, even if you're not talking about that, but absolutely
I was, but yes. All good, Nemesis, all good. Like I say, not that I particularly care, as I did watch it, but, you know, we got some people in chat that haven't, potentially, and they maybe not like spoilers. I hate spoilers, so, you know, I can relate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not big on that. For me, I always keep up with it, even if I'm not fully watching it. But I definitely think there's a value to watch it for the first time, and I appreciate that sense in this community here. It is like a movie. It is... Every race is like a movie, so you want to watch it for the first time without knowing what's going to happen.
But boy, do you want to watch Atlanta.
Yeah, but boy.
That's definitely one that you don't want to miss, so.
Very interesting
Alex
with
Freeman
that track turning into a speedway as, ooh.
Into pit lane. He's good.
Cool. Good for Freeman. And another one of my leader updates, as it feels like I've been doing today, Felipe sets the new fastest lap of the race at 2:07.020. He is rapid, and he looks very rapid, and with 35 minutes to go, I don't know if he's pitted yet. He's definitely going to have the best opportunity to win this race with about 12 seconds between him and second.
Top 5 are yet to pit at this stage, along with Professor Chronotis and Chris Moses. Chris Moses does need to make a pit stop for that damage, obviously. Is the weather still consistent? Why don't we take a little look? Top right corner, we can see, yes, consistent for the next 30 minutes. Maybe going to get a little bit drier. Aliraza, though, in P2 here, chasing down Gabriel, but he really isn't. Oh, okay, well, he hit the wall. Once again, man, we've nailed some commentator curses here today, haven't we?
That's about 3 as I'm counting tonight, but, you know, it happens. There's a battle up top on the mountain between Dubau and Bellinger for 16th, and I say that immediately Dubau lost the car, and there's more space between them, but they're still fighting for it up top.
We also have a battle up the hill here between the two Ferraris, Devin Anthony and Jan Rodrix. John Hawley, I have no idea why that doesn't work. Everything should work, but it doesn't. So I'm at a loss on how to fix that one. But Devin Anthony seemingly holding up to the pressure for now. As Aliraza, I predict, is going to come into the pit lane. No, he stays out. So the damage, not much of a concern for him, interestingly.
And managing damage is definitely a very important part of this. If you already haven't taken your pit stop, you're going to want to maybe try and get that all combined into one. If you want to keep your pit strategy and keeping it the same, it's obviously going to be a longer pit if your front right suspension is kaput, but it'll happen.
Aliraza is still sticking it out for dries. No, not really. I don't expect to see a dry tire in this race. And what class Mason? Oh, I see what you're saying. My bad. Apologies. Mason doing the 2.5 or 2.4 of Le Mans. That's probably quite a bit of work.
Ooh, that is...
in a hypercar too. So doing some multi-class racing. We mentioned that earlier. In fact, that's something I do want to touch on. Obviously, we're seeing some back markers here. Multi-class racing, one of those that is going to be nothing but back markers. And being a back marker is a talent. Being a blue flag, you can end somebody's race, or you can make their race a lot easier. Chronotis may end his race here. What has happened to the professor, as he seemingly has not done his homework on the mountain. Down the hill we go. The back end looking loose, looking even more loose, and makes a light tap there. I think he stayed out of trouble.
It's not terrible contact, but our leader got through there. It seems he got through there safely because the gap has only increased between him and Raza from that point onward. It's about 15 seconds now with just over 30 remaining, and oh my goodness, time has flew by so far this race. A lot of fun tonight here on Mount Panorama.
There you go. Sound it out. Zane Blisket has found the back bumper here of Jan Flox as they begin the ascent up the mountain. This is a very, very tall mountain. Well, I mean, it's a tallish mountain, but one thing that we don't really realize is how quickly you ascend. Of course, that's up 174 meters, 571 feet. That's just about 2 football fields when you put it into perspective. And you're doing that in, well, quite a quick time. Obviously, these cars with a good amount of horsepower, which is a fair understatement. But super fun. Absolutely love it. Our race leader also has decided to make a pit stop, and there's big damage on Gabriel Felipe. Now, was that potentially from what we saw earlier with that spin in front?
I don't know where that came from. I believe he got past that pretty safely because his time did not change from the gap unless Raza also got into contact at the same time, miraculously, that we didn't see. But in terms of Felipe, we'll see kind of how long this pit stop takes, and if he does have damage, if he will keep it.
Also, it is not 25-second fixed time, apparently. Wait, is it? I don't know. Eric said I got the pit wrong, or the pit information wrong, which if I did, I've been getting it wrong the whole season. What is he talking about? I had it right.
Looks like Felipe is back on track, and he seems undamaged or unrepaired, either or.
I didn't have it right. Apparently, this season, we've changed our 90-minute enduros where it's mandatory fuel, no fixed refueling time. Oh. I didn't know that.
Just enough.
You gotta love it when you're informed.
Man, it definitely happens. We are here for an hour and a half, so, you know, don't blame us. We're just some goobers at the casting table, to be honest with you.
This is what it looks like from Zane Blisket's perspective. Got a great view of the back bumper of Jan Flox. He's going to want to change that here. We'll stick on board for a little bit as we begin the ascent up the mountain here into the Audi cutting, getting on that throttle nice and early. Getting close to these green walls also. That's the goal. Tight line here, kissing both walls. Actually, does a great job of it.
Flox has had some bit of an incident I remember earlier in his car that kind of cost him some spaces, but Blizzkit now, they definitely have a run as he hits the mountain and the straight here.
Yeah, Jan catching the wall there just briefly, so feeling the pressure from Zane Blisket. Zane needs to keep it in check here. It's definitely one of the issues, I would say, if I had to say there is any with Zane Blisket. His pace has been incredible, especially lately. His consistency, that's the one thing he's been working on, and we'll see if it's paid off. The rain, I will say, hasn't phased him so far. He's been absolutely on the ball, so it's looking like he's managed to get that reined in. No pun intended again.
Seems rapid and consistent, and Blizzkit is going to definitely be in Flox's rearview mirror for quite some time, and maybe in his windshield if Flox does not pick up the pace, because it seems like Blizzkit is just running faster as they head towards the chase.
Most certainly is, and I think that could be down to tires. No, they both took tires, I would assume. Both had very long pit stops. Everybody taking a very, very long pit stop here. But Zane not able to make it happen on this lap. A little bit deep, though, from Jan again. That's going to allow the inside line into Hell Corner, but he doesn't even need it. He gets the job done before. Chris Moses trying to make his way by as a blue flag. Almost gets taken out by Jan Flox. Manages to get by.
That was a bit scary for him there, but Flox managed to see him just in time, and that's going to be not great for Flox, who now has to basically fight 2 cars to get one position if he wants to get that 11th spot back.
Also, Casey Schutte going to be joining the fun here momentarily. We're going to have a three-way battle for P11. Casey doing a good job of making up ground. We also have a scrap down for, oh no, excuse me, they're in the pit lane as Steven Tomazic gets by. So we'll continue here on this very, very close battle. Back marker, front marker currently playing havoc. Ooh, what has happened here? Matt, our team, and Larry Lanham. Larry caught up in another incident as there's the Audi as well. I think that was Matt, our team, that came involved there. Oh, and we join it very late. Matt, our team was involved early on, it seems. Unfortunately, we missed the contact, but big damage on the 414 as well as the number 8.
Yeah, our team, I believe, also dealing with some suspension controls. He's the only one that leaves that accident without just going straight to pit. Yeah, he is dealing with some serious suspension issues right now. Or suspension alignment issues, I apologize. It's up to him. He's going to bring that one back to the pits, and that is a rough way to see it with just under 30 remaining.
Absolutely. We have currently a nice three-way scrap for P11 that's going to be developing here. Also, 86 Scott not able to enter because of D&D. You know, Scott, I understand. Also, Mason going to be joining us next season in the GT3s. Let's go. I think, Mason, you're in the Open Championship now, as well as, I think, the Rookies. Are you in the Rookie? I know you're in the Open, but thank you as well, once again, for Patreon support. Ooh, Zane Bliskett getting caught up. I think Chris Moses and Zane had a bit of a tangle here. Let's see. Chris Moses with a fully repaired car. Oh, he's laid onto the brakes.
Looks like that quadruple Ferrari battle, or I guess triple Ferrari battle, one of them was not on the lead lap. It looked like they kind of just laid on the brakes there. But it's definitely going to allow Shoot, who is, or not Shoot, rather, the BMW of Junior to find his way maybe back into the top 10 if he can find some more pace. He's been going way faster than he did that first few sections of this race.
He's going to need to find a bit more than 2:11, though. He's currently 11 seconds behind Zane, who's 7 seconds behind Casey. Top 10, a little bit out of the cards, I would say, at this stage, barring any massive catastrophe, but not out for Casey Schutte. He'll be the one keeping an eye on that position as he goes for it there. Jan Flox makes a mistake, and he capitalizes immediately. Casey Schutte on top of it.
Bad luck for him today, but the pace has definitely been there. His best lap, better than the next every car except the every car up to the third place position. He's been very fast tonight, and gonna be definitely an eye to keep. Definitely someone to keep your eye on throughout the rest of this race.
Most certainly, and Mason also doing more leagues than I am, it seems. My goodness. But probably gonna drop the P Cup in GT2 next season. Yeah, I understand. That's quite a bit of racing, but you know, you love the league racing. I gotta say, we have some dedicated members here that do make all of our championships, which once again, that's more championships than I make, so.
Absolutely. It's a very professional feel here in the sense of it. It still is very friendly, but everybody who races it kind of feels like they take this as seriously as if it were a job at some points. And I think that's really admirable in the sense of it definitely creates so much good racing. And it definitely creates guys who are actually doing this for a job, like I believe Felipe is, who is running second for now. But I believe Raza has yet to pit.
Yep. That is correct. Do not fret that Ollie Raza is leading this race. That will not maintain, or will not stay the same. In fact, no, never mind. I was going to say, in fact, Eric might overtake, but no, Eric also, he also needs to make his pit stop, so the boss still waiting for his stop. And a full onboard lap for Casey Schutte. Why not? Let's get it. As he has basically just begun. So we'll pop on board here with the number 444 Reckless Racing Aston Martin as he heads now down into Quarry Bend, getting the car stopped, getting it slowed down nicely, I should say. Back onto the throttle, short shift into third, beginning the ascent up the mountain. Long 174-meter ascent down into first gear, gonna short shift to second on exit here. Holds first for a while, actually, even in these wet conditions. Trying to take a look at the engine map here. So we're seeing, no, I'm not sure what we're seeing on the engine map.
Very, very brave of Shoot there, but I definitely got to say, very beautiful beautiful livery. I am a connoisseur, a Picasso, if you will, of liveries, but I guess that would imply I can make liveries. In the sense that is a very nice camo and green combination. Just some credit to him there.
Down the mountain here. Back onto the throttle. It's terrifying to get back onto the throttle. You're accelerating straight towards a wall, and you just have to swerve to avoid it, basically. But you have to do lap after lap after lap. 30 laps have been complete here so far, at least for our leader. 31, actually, for our leader. Casey Schutte down a lap.
Raza is now in the pits and should give Felipe back the lead. Yes, he does. He comes out way closer, though.
Oh, wow. Battle might be on for P1. That's a great point.
Yeah, that is a really, really good hit by Raza and at the right time. But he's got to go find the pace that I believe Felipe is dominating and who's moved his best time to 2:06.902.
Also with a 14-second, a 12-second faster pit than Gabriel Felipe. So we're going to definitely be seeing a difference in tires from our top two, as it looks like Gabriel Felipe took a fresh set of wets when it comes to pit phase. Now, one little fact I'll give you, or for any of the viewers in general, in case you were curious, when you take a look at the side profile of these cars, if you see a little yellow band on the tires, they'll be running dries. If you don't, they're running wets. So that's just a little way you can tell if they're on wet or dry tires. I think John Hawley pointed that one out to me.
You just pointed that one out to me, so thank you very much. I did not know that.
It's a fun fact. Like I say, everyone, so when you keep an eye out for that little yellow band, that's when the tires are going to be, well, dries, as it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing in this session.
Yeah, it looks like Felipe, if he manages to win this race, will definitely move up in the stand, or definitely get close to moving up in the standings, because the one in first is in fourth right now, and if that maintains, actually he'll be third, because, oh man, you're gonna have to help me pronounce that one. It's the Lambo in third.
The Lamborghini. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
hang on, hold that thought. Casey Swanseeger has found himself stranded on the side of the mountain. Our current Lamborghini in P3, I guess you're talking, is Eric Gakassian, or I'll be honest,
okay.
It's not technically how you pronounce it. It's not properly improper, but it's, yeah, the Armenian tongue. A little bit challenging for us.
Either way, Gakassian, rapid so far, has had a really good open practice, led that. Definitely showing here he's got some serious pace, though I believe he's yet to pit, so that will be interesting for him where he comes out of that.
Yeah, looking at the times that we're seeing about a 1-minute pit time, so he should fall out around P10, around P9. I think definitely in that P9 window, but maybe even ahead, I think, of Professor Kronotis, potentially slotting him between Drew and Jake. I think that might be where he falls, but we'll see. And how is Devin Anthony doing? Let's see. Devin Anthony. Let's see. First off, Casey Swanseeger has an abysmal race. He does decide to drive up the mountain backwards there for a little bit. We caught the brief end of that, unfortunately. Devin Anthony, though, is in P10. Looking good.
The car is moving quickly and has been moving pretty good throughout this race. He's sitting around a 209 to 210, 209.6 to 212 probably in most of his lap times. He's been pretty fast. I believe he's already pitted, correct?
Yep. He has made his pit stop. Professor Kronotis in front of him has not, so that's going to be a free position to be gained. However, Casey Schutte, I suspect, is going to be breathing in that rear wing mirror here relatively soon, and I predict that Casey isn't going to be there for long.
I mean, Casey, you mentioned at the beginning of the race that Felipe is a guy that you don't want to have in your rearview mirrors, and I kind of agree with him and Schutte. You're not going to see him that long in your rearview mirrors either. They are rapid and can get around you and know when to get around you very safely. Schutte, we saw earlier, capitalize on, I believe it was Flox's mistake up the mountain.
Yeah, Schutte, of course, great guy, first off. Another one of the head stewards and admins at TRACKILICIOUS, so... well, just an overall incredible guy, and he's been a little off the ball, I think, lately. Of course, his famous P6 position he hasn't seen in a while. Looking to maybe change that tonight, but I do not see a P6 on the cards at this current moment.
anything can happen. Not anything for all the time, but definitely looking like a P10 finish is within his cards, and especially if he can catch up to that Ferrari ahead of him, it could be very big for him to move up in the standings. But definitely going to be interesting for the standings because the third place driver is out of this race and has been for a while. Dubé sitting on the sidelines, unfortunately.
Yeah, you hate to see that. Early incident, obviously Dubé not even finishing a lap here tonight. And, well, cheering on, of course, the fellow Dubés, Patrick Dubo. Wait, hold on. Wait, no, that's wrong. Patrick Dubo. Wait, where's the other Dubé? There should be another one.
He is riding 23rd.
There we go, Jonathan Dubé. There he is in the Test Racing Esports. So cheering on his fellow Canadian cousin, I think, or brother, I'm not sure. Christian, if you're in chat, do let me know. But yeah, we've had a few Dubés, or I think 3 Dubés added to the championships in total. Light brush to the wall there.
The brush. I was a little worried that was going to be way more severe than it was, but thankfully for him, pretty all right light tap.
And Mason just did a P-Cup race in the rain without touching the wall. It can be done. It's definitely 35 minutes is a little bit different than 90 minutes. It's once you've been driving for an hour straight on track, the fatigue that typically for most people starts to wear. Lawrence, thank you, Vadik, as well for correcting me. Lawrence Dubé is his brother, and Jonathan is 2, presumably. Okay, awesome.
A little bit of an update for you on your leader once again. Felipe has a 5-second lead and is just lapping faster than Raza. It's just the moral of this story, and it's just slowly increasing that gap ever so slowly as we head to the dying laps of this race.
Yeah, coming down to a close here, 16 minutes, 19 seconds remaining, and Steven Tomazic is deep. Row your boat racing, unfortunately, well, he was trying to test that one out a little bit too much, trying to row through the gravel. That keeps it on.
Great for speed, but definitely was able to save the car there, and I believe that's, again, oh no, just a rough race for Swanziger, who's right there, got in the wall in the same corner. I think he's crashed in 3 times tonight.
We got a couple livery deep dive redemptions. Let's take a look at Patrick Dubo's first, who has the lovely Rockefeller Racing Aston Martin. Hang on, though. We're going to wait until we get to the bottom of the mountain, because ACC is a bit finicky like that. So once we get to the bottom of the mountain, the camera angle will not change on me, because, once again, ACC, you love to see it. We'll get a little bit of a deep dive. And then after that, we'll check out Eric's as well. Now, we'll take a look at it. I might have went a little too early, but there we go.
Still beautiful.
Slight tilt on the camera, but there is the Rockefeller Racing, of course, Rocky Rocco running that boat, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he is.
Sure, I believe we will be commentating a race this Friday.
Yes, sir.
Rocky Rockefeller in it? Yeah.
That's going to be over at SFR GT Challenge, Friday Night League. Do check that out. Prize championship on the line as well. Race 1, of course, there's a drop round, which you asked me to explain earlier, now that I mention it. So drop rounds. Now that great little segue into that. So of course there's one drop round on each championship here at TRACKILICIOUS that we do, which is, in my opinion, a lovely addition. Of course, basically what that does is the worst result that you have, and sometimes the best, but depending on we only do the worst here. But the worst result that you have is wiped off the board. Doesn't count, and that's for everybody. So everybody's worst result is wiped off the board, which allows a little bit of forgiveness in that championship, allows you to maybe miss a race due to real life, or if you get crashed out that wasn't necessarily your fault, or if it was, you get another chance.
Very interesting there. Kind of a sim racing adaptation. I can say words. I'm very talented at saying words. And another leader update. It's looking like Raza can't seem to find the pace, and Felipe is just furthering that lead as we do another deep dive here.
We have Eric Gakassian, who's in the pits. Will be coming out presumably around Professor Kronotis. We'll see. The lovely Fuchs competition livery here by Vadik Odstitsiev has come to a stop. into pit lane. We'll see how long it takes him once he comes back out.
We head up atop the mountain. Felipe is up there, and Dornell's now has taken that third position as I'm not even Gukasian has taken the pit, and he will jump out at about P6.
Oh my, side by side actually with Anton Wass. Anton should be able to take this position. He's on warm tires obviously, and Eric on old tires, so actually going to be keeping some of that temperature, but the tire is obviously cooling down in pit lane. But no fresh set of boots here for Eric. He's going to be all green to the end, which makes sense. You wouldn't take tires with 12 minutes left.
No, absolutely not, unless you, for some reason, never took tires in the first place. But, yeah, I mean, he's been rapid. Even with old tires, he might still have an advantage here in the Wass as they go through the mountain. Wass definitely going to try and minimize the mistakes here, because that is a guy you don't want in your rearview mirror.
Oh, no. Nemesis, look, that game, it will come out when it comes out, all right? I'm a firm believer of it. It will come out eventually, AC2, I do believe. What is oh my goodness,
oh my goodness.
What just happened? Kaio Jr.? Let's catch a replay here, folks. We're gonna go back 30 seconds. This is Casey Shooty. Where's Kaio Jr.? There's Kaio, no wait, I can't select Kaio Jr. Okay, we're gonna watch Zane Blisket. Kaio Jr. has left the session, it seems.
Oh.
So Zane Blisket at the top of the mountain here, who looks like involved. Oh, no, wasn't involved.
I think he just lost it behind him. I kind of saw him slide away. Go behind.
Oh, I missed it.
Ooh.
Alex Freeman absolutely annihilates Kaio Jr.
Ooh, I think Kaio Jr. lost the car, and then I believe Kaio Jr. lost the car, and then that Ferrari unfortunately just smashed into him. I'm not sure why we can't.
ACC replays are so because he doesn't exist, and neither does the other car that hit him. Ooh. Oh, there it is, Alex Freeman. Oh my goodness, we caught the talent. I'm a terrible spectator, everybody. You love to see it.
Is that Raza?
No, that was Alex Freeman in the sister car, unfortunately.
That would have been a little interesting there for Dornell's, who sits above. So let's talk a little bit. Not everybody watching, obviously, is familiar with how the points go, and neither am I fully. So what does each position bring in terms of points? What's the difference between 1, 2, 2, 3, 3? You get the idea.
Well, there's quite a bit of points on the line, actually, so doing math in these championships is really, really fun. So here in round 6, you're going to be receiving 120 points for P1, 108 for P2, and 100 for P3, 92, and so on and so forth. You can find any of these standings, in case you are curious, over on our SimGrid, where you can take a look at all of our championships, sign up for whatever events that you would like as well, and find standings, race results, and much more information as well out there. So do check out the SimGrid. Wet Socks, unfortunately not a subscriber. You got to be a subscriber to spam my face. Or I think you can use points to unlock my face.
I'm not very proficient on how you unlock caster faces, as it looks like
Eric messes
up.
up.
Off there.
Nice. Eric the Boss Kassian has this one mandatory mess up on stream.
Happens. Definitely happens. I think we all in this community understand that you're always bound to mess up. There's always bound to be a mistake, and it's pretty entertaining from time to time. Obviously, with that turn 1 obviously horrible, or rather lap 1 obviously horrible for everybody involved with their races, especially Dubé, who's going to lose this race. But it definitely creates some more interesting narratives, as we've seen Chute, who's been involved in so many accidents tonight, have that opportunity to be back now, as he's a second behind Anthony.
Mason says he did the pit stop today and he is ready for tomorrow. We love to see it, but make sure you practice. Don't forget to practice your pit entries, everybody. Just your friendly reminder before the GT4 Open tomorrow.
I think, as a spoiler, I think I'm also going to be there tomorrow, right?
Yes, yeah. Carson.
Chance? Oh yeah,
will be joining me tomorrow for the GT4 Open. He'll be driving in the GT4 Rookies and then heading over to the booth afterwards. So we'll get a little bit of an interview as well at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you'll get out of me tomorrow, but obviously we'll have to see for the race. My pace has been off in terms of practice, so we'll see.
Practice pit entry in the dry, but not in the wet. Look, I'll allow it. That's, oh my goodness, Patrick Dubois spins the wrong way around into Forest Elbow. Very similar to, oh man, he loses at the top of the mountain. This is a slip and slide all the way down here for Patrick, so he's currently stranded on the descent, and is he just gonna reverse it all the way down to, oh my. I guess what else do you do? But maybe a little bit less throttle.
It's looking like he has very, very slight alignment issues. Maybe a bit more major than I had initially said as he spins the car there.
I was gonna say, I'll let you continue on that one.
The wheel slightly to the left there, but unfortunately couldn't get it left enough for Dubois, whose car is seriously on life support right now.
Oh my goodness, that's another car. Oh no, that's Patrick, who's just struggling. Bono, my tires are gone. Bono, my bonnet is gone.
And currently in P9, P10, P11, there's a fight for P9. Shoot Anthony and Chronotis in that high visibility car. Shoot has increased or decreased that gap to 0.3, and Anthony has decreased that gap to 0.2. So we're bound for some intense action with 7 minutes remaining here.
This is going to be a bit of a heated battle. Chrono's deep, and that should be an easy overtake for both Casey and Devin. They make short work of it. That's going to be a back marker, I think, or a front marker behind. Let's see. As we go to the relative, if it would work. That's Wilson Fernandez, the front marker, actually. So currently P4 going to be getting involved with this and getting by very easily. Devin Anthony, that's going to help him out, actually, and not really allow Casey to make any sort of offensive move before the ascent up the mountain. But the lap times are counting down here, and there's only 6 minutes and 30 seconds left. Devin is feeling the pressure.
Apologies, I missed everything that just happened. My headset is broken. I think I've switched it, but I'm on a speaker.
Are you back?
We are back.
Okay.
We're always back. We're locked in again as this battle continues up the mountain.
Gotta love technology. Love live TV once again. Casey Schutte, though, on it for right now, and you can see as he backs off at the top of the mountain, it's a very smart decision. Allows you to maximize your speed on the descent and go for the overtake towards the chase, which I think we're, oh, Casey tags the wall.
Ooh. Yeah, obviously going down that downhill, taking a little bit of space. It lets you kind of control your gap as he tags the wall again, I think on that right side of his car. But with still got 5 minutes here, that's about 3 laps, I think it'll be left, and we'll hit the 40 lap marker, but definitely been faster than Anthony, and he caught up half a second last lap to Anthony, so we'll see if he can do it again.
This is also a position potentially here for Chris Moses. JP Bellinger last lap, a 2:14.2 to a 2:10 from Chris Moses. But the pace is definitely here this time around for JP, but can he keep it consistent? That seems to be the problem. Last lap definitely had a bit of an incident. Potential off track. You can see the wiggling there from the AMG.
That V8 definitely struggling in that back tires there as Moses gives them pressure. Moses also had a incident that I don't think will be a penalty, but definitely that car detonated on the mountain up there, and he's going to get a run down into T1. Definitely a run into T2 with how fast his car has been compared to the AMG in the straights.
Bit of a gap, though. Going to be tough to head on down through Forest Elbow, or no, excuse me, through the mountain. What is it? The mountain straight onto Quarry Bend. Bit far back. Heavy defense, though it is to be said, from Bellinger. Little unnecessary, but hey, better safe than sorry, I suppose. But it could end up with a bit of a spin if he's not careful.
Yeah, I mean, with 4 minutes left, you definitely don't want to concede a position and want to kind of increase that gap as much as you can. Moses reacted pretty well enough to stay as close as he could with what is going on there for Bellinger, but I definitely think that was a bit of a risky move if Moses didn't anticipate it and just kind of went to the back of him.
Okay, so it was more just unnecessary on the defense. You're just losing time. Whoa, that's exactly what you were talking about, though. And,
yep.
Well, we see Chris Moses into the back of JP Bellinger.
I'm not sure who's going to be at fault there. I'd like to kind of see what happened.
I guess, unfortunately, a pretty cut and dry one, but let's take a look at the very least. Obviously, that AMG slowed up a bit more than Chris expected, and in the wet conditions, he might get away with it, to be honest. I'm not sure he was able to react. It'll be down to the stewards there to test, but normally, of course, hitting something that you can see is typically not ideal. But once again, in that case, it could have been a little different.
Speaking of hitting something, I think Dubé in the 72 Aston Martin is having a serious issue. Speaking of things, hitting things you can see.
Confetti show. Polystyrene's absolutely everywhere. That
alignment is almost completely to the left. He is holding a 90-degree right turn right now in that car.
He's got it somewhat under control. Not really. It's a bit of a fight there, keeping it out of the barrier. Unfortunately, the polystyrene, we don't get to see the confetti again, as much as I wish.
I mean, definitely been struggling so far. I think he got involved in that. I think he was also involved in that turn one incident, which led him to, I think, almost 4 minutes of damage. He was in the initial contact there, but he's going to really need to bring this car to pit road. He will.
Mason also calling that one a racing incident. You know, it very well may be, to be honest, but it's all going to be down to the reaction that from Chris Moses. It'll be down to the onboard. You'll really be able to tell from there. Obviously, we'll go to the famous quote. You got to look at the steering wheel input. You got to look at the steering wheel, but and then check your emails shortly after. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a situation where Moses has to react there, but can he react without throwing his car into a wall with how fast he's going in that kind of corner? But either way, definitely should check your emails.
Yes, and white flag being flown here. Gabriel Felipe comes to the line. The ORT esports driver has been nothing but dominant, led every single lap. All 41 of these laps so far. Going to come to the lap 42 for the close, presumably for the race win. Don't see that happen. Don't see anything else happening.
You mentioned earlier in the race about that rearview mirror. It's the kind of guy you don't want in your rearview mirror. I don't think that was really applicable because he was not in the rearview mirror of really anybody that long, unless they were back traffic, in which I think he probably got around them within a turn or two.
It's been an absolute dominant showing here tonight as he is lapping in the 206s. 206.4 is the fastest lap. There is not a single driver in this session that has crested the 206s besides Gabriel Felipe.
And Raza definitely second place got close, but just could not do it with how fast Felipe's been running. And I'm assuming he's got experience in the wet because he keeps getting better with the laps going on. Started, I think, at a 2:08 on fresh tires and got it down to a 2:06 time frame. So that's extremely impressive from Felipe. But as far as I can tell from being new to the series and this league, he has been nothing but impressive this year.
Yeah, a bit of a dominant showing from Gabriel. Has had some competition. I know we have Dink Donk, obviously the Australian driver who isn't here tonight. He is going to be putting a nice fight on in the championship, but not adding on to it tonight. Gabriel Felipe, he's the talk of the town, heading now down the Conrad Straight. The windshield wiper's still strong tonight, but the rain has been not much of a problem whatsoever. I know you'd mentioned Ali Raza. Not quite used to the rain, but no, this driver, assure you, he is an incredible driver in the wet. It's just Gabriel Felipe, and built a little bit different. But one more corner to go here for the number 27 driver. It's been a calm, cool, and collected victory here for the Brazilian, but the ORT esports driver comes across Murray corner. Jake Wells waits for him to the line, and Gabriel Felipe takes P1.
Respectable from Wells, not wanting to take another lap. But definitely a dominant showing. Dominant showing, anything but a problem tonight for Felipe. Didn't really have anybody behind him the entire race, and that gap's going to probably end at about a 20-second gap. And I believe it got up to 40 through earlier on as Raza hits the line.
And Ali Raza gets by the Fuchsia car at the end, who's a little battered and bruised for that P2. Renato Dornales going to be 24 seconds late to the party. Will be coming across the line in P3. I see Jake Wells P2. Unfortunately, that is not how that works. I wish that was the case, and I'm sure Jake does too, but it is not. So Renato Dornales, he'll be taking P3. And up next, Wilson Fernandez with a few more cars a little bit late to the show.
Yeah, definitely no real massive contention throughout, other than I guess the closest gap is 8 whole seconds. So take with that what you will. Very panorama feel tonight. Got a lot of incidents up top and some down low below the mountain, but definitely a lot of carnage tonight. So if you were tuning into this hoping for that, sorry it wasn't as good as Atlanta that happened earlier today, but definitely got a lot of scrap metal everywhere.
Kevin Anthony, I gotta say, 18 positions gained. Good job, brother. Keep that up.
Okay.
Professor
See, that
Cronotis
is hard.
rounds out our top 10 here, and the final driver to come to the line is going to be Eric the Boss Gakassian. I think a couple more drivers, I think they've come to the line, but I'm not sure. But what a race. Honestly, great battling from a lot of these drivers. We saw some ups, we saw some downs, we saw a bit of bumping and banging as well at some good times as we get ready to head back here to the booth. And welcome back, everybody, as we're back here. And yeah, absolutely incredible stuff to be seen here. Obviously, Gabriel Felipe is the talk of the town. We'll see if we can get an actual interview with Gabriel, as well as Renato Dornales and Ali Raza. Ali Raza, I know, will be able to land, as I rudely move him up without his permission. But you know what? That's okay. That's how it goes. He's an admin. He can take it.
Okay.
But we can start off here. In fact, why don't we start off with Ali Raza while we wait for a few other drivers. Ali, P2 is pretty dominant in terms of the pace for you, but I got to say, you just could not match the 206. Was it 206.4 that was Gabriel Felipe for the fastest lap?
Yeah, I think we had completely different pit strats. I think he opted to change tires. I didn't. I just splashed and dashed, so I was struggling in the end with old tires for the whole race. I almost overcut him. Like, it was literally 1 second off. So that was my plan, and hopefully I could defend against him, but that didn't work out. It came out literally 1 second behind him, and then he has fresh tires, so there was no chance.
I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like even if you did come out in front, I feel like it was a matter of when, not if, for him on that overtake. That pace was just unmatched. But back to you, obviously, having a great race, dominating in terms of P2, defending your position handedly for a good majority of the race. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I knew the McLarens were at least a couple tenths quicker than the Ferraris, so I knew I would have a little bit of an edge on Dornelles. So I was just hoping that Dornelles doesn't have some insane pace randomly, but I held it together, kept the P2, and opted for the splash and dash. I think that was the best strat because, it could have not rained, so I didn't know. So that's why I kept full fuel, and I think it worked out well. Like the final race position is probably the farthest I could have been.
Yeah, I think Eric did a very similar strategy, and it turned out quite well for him as well. But Carson, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I kind of would like to, a little bit of a future preference here, but I kind of would like to know what your mentality is at Indy, because with Christian Dubé not finishing, you're in 5th position. You're going to move up to 4th with this race, I believe, because Wells finished 7th. I'm kind of curious, what's your mentality heading to Indy?
I haven't even been looking at the standings, but if I can fight for like a top 3, that'd be great. But I don't think I can touch the Brazilian boys. They're probably in the top 2, right? Maybe if I can fight for 3rd place, I think that would be a good goal for me.
Definitely had the pace today, and I hope you can find it in Indy. Great race.
Thanks, man.
And it looks like we have a few more. I guess, Ollie, is there anyone you'd like to thank before we move on?
No, man. Thank you guys for streaming. I think you probably did a great show for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. You put on a pretty good show yourself. We'll be moving on now. Up next, we're going to do Renato Dornales. It seems that we have actually both of our finishers up here. So we'll move on to Renato, finishing off P3. Not quite able to answer Ollie Roz's calls, but still putting on a lovely fight and defending from Wilson Fernandez, your fellow countryman. Must feel pretty good. Oh, do we got a copy?
Yeah,
there we are.
Yeah, the results were fine. I didn't think I could keep the pace from the Gabriel and Haza. They were way faster than I could be, and so just managed to keep the car on track. avoid the walls, and bring it home.
I mean, it seems you managed that quite well tonight. No really incidents for you. I think you got caught up in a couple close ones, but managing to avoid it fairly easily, and maybe a scare or two. But overall, dominant. And in terms of your pace, I gotta say, that was looking pretty good from you.
Yeah, was not the pace from the guys in front, but I finished like almost 50 seconds from the leader and 25 from second place, but
Still quicker than Ollie Roswell on the boards. So
at least, maybe because it changed tires, but
I guess that could be fair enough. That could be a good excuse, but still. Great pace, finishing with a P3. Wilson Fernandez, your fellow countryman, you seem to outpace him by a good majority.
yeah, I think he has had trouble with traffic, fight for positions on the beginning of the race. After the pit stop, he was, I think, even faster than me. But
let's see. Looking at the timing charts, I don't think that was the case, but
it was great. Great race. I got no troubles at all. Was fine for me. The race. It was different racing at Bathurst with rain, but quite nice.
And Carson, anything you'd like to finish off here?
Just a great race overall, and I think you definitely handled it well with the cars you were given. But yeah, I mean, those guys had pace. You definitely did too.
Yeah, is there anyone you'd like to thank, Renato, before we move on to our race winner tonight?
No, thank everyone who's cheering and watching the broadcast.
Yeah, thank you to them as well. Thank you, Renato, finishing P3 here tonight in the round 6 of the GT3 Championship. Thank you, Renato. As we move on here, we are going to be grabbing our race winner and the driver I think that we all want to talk to, Gabriel Felipe. Absolute, I mean, to be honest, I think you were already driving the Indy at a certain point there, making the show look quite like yours.
Yeah, actually the McLaren has a killer pace at Mount Panorama, so it was quite easy because of that. And I had a good setup too for the wet conditions. And fortunately and luckily, I had the wet race for the whole race. And my setup was the best here because I just had not to deal with the dry track, so it wasn't a problem. So very luckily, but yeah, I think it's only on the car. The car is just OP there, and I mean, just made, yeah.
I do want to put the argument forth. Of course, you say the car is OP, but what were the cars that were directly behind you now? And then look at the margins. Of course, you had 2 McLarens finishing behind you, and the gaps were not small. So I don't think it was necessarily down to just the machinery alone. I think there might have been a little something more. It seems, as you said, your setup was just perfect tonight. I mean, it seems like you didn't put a tire wrong throughout the entire session, minus a brief scrape of the wall, but didn't seem to hinder you too much.
Yeah, actually, I got 18 seconds of damage, but it was on the side of the car, so luckily the car wasn't affected at all. So it was still very fast. And like I said, we had the information on the HUD of the games of the wet, the rain getting weaker. So I think maybe some people just got a mixed setup or dry setup, hoping for the dry track. So luckily that just did not happen.
Yeah, the full commitment worked tonight, and it seems to be strong now. Is there any questions that you'd like to ask, Carson?
Not really much. I'm gonna go a little bit off the race wheel here. What's your favorite car to drive other than the McLaren? Because obviously that's got a lot of pace right now, just due to some certain ACC.
Well, I use it to like very much the Bentley, but it got very, very worse on the latest patches. So it is not a very good car to take on championships. It's still good on some tracks, but championship wise is not the best choice. So I'm just getting more used to the meta cars, unfortunately, because I love the Bentley. I drove it for like 3 years. So yeah, times changes. So that's it.
That's awesome. Now, is there anyone you'd like to thank before you head on out of here, Gabriel?
Yeah, I would like to thank Dornaz first because he gave me the setup to the quali, and it was a very good setup. Unfortunately, I had to take another step for the setup for the race because it was wet. And I would like to thank my team, Oak Racing by Oakberry, and our sponsors, Extreme Sim Racing, Real Drive, and Rick Parts. That's it.
Awesome. Gabriel Felipe, your race winner here tonight for round 6 at Mount Panorama at TRACKILICIOUS. Thank you very much, and have a great night, Gabriel.
Thanks.
No, it's getting late, I know, so... awesome. Thank you very much once again, everybody here tonight and chat. Thank you to Carson Kass for his debut in the Sunday GT3. Did an amazing job. Guys, give him some love. Thank you all so much. I've been Mike Nause, of course. We are going to be heading off to Indy, as we said, next week. But for now, we are going to be rating Jake Wells. I suck at this over on Twitch. I think he's staying live. Let me just triple check before I do rate him. Yes, he is. He's doing something. So do check Jake out. He's amazing. So yeah, as Doc Milby says, I hope everyone has a safe evening. I hope everyone has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Once again, I've been Mike Nause, not Mason here, excuse me. Carson Kass here tonight. Thank you and good night.